Hello, you're listening to Otaku Spirit Animecast. My name is Andrew, and I'm joined here with Chris and his tweeting phone watch thing that he's trying to silence.
Yo.
We're from OtakuSpirit.com. It's where you can go for all of our links to our YouTube channel, where you can support us there by subscribing, as well as all of our other links, our Discord, ways you can support us. We greatly appreciate everybody that checks us out and supports us, listens to us, shares us out, all that good stuff. But yes, today is our first impressions. For most of this stuff, it's pretty much we're getting into our mid-season reviews at this point. But yes, our coverage of the winter 2023 anime season. We went through as much as we could last time, as I had a little brief moment to snag Chris. Hopefully we can get through a good chunk of it this time. I don't know, hopefully we can finish it off. There's a few of them that don't have much to say about. Plus there's a few of them that are just getting delayed. This is a season of delaying stuff. We have 7 total delays already with this season, and I predicted it. I said 6, as much as 10. We're at 7 now. We might actually hit 10. It's like one of those moments I don't want to be right. But yes, we should just jump right into it and start plowing through the rest of these shows before Chris has to run off again or he passes out because he was tired today. Were you sick or tired or just both?
Just tired.
Sick and tired of being tired. But yeah, first one we have is High Card. This one's streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, done by Studio Hibari. The source is a multimedia project. The creator of this series is both Homura Kawamoto and Hikaru Muno, who is known, of course, for doing the Kakegurui series and Build Divide. So, derpy smiley faces, question mark. But essentially opens up with this whole burglary that's happening at this one facility. These people come in, use these weird abilities, and they end up snatching this box that, as they're fleeing, breaks open and spreads these playing cards that somehow spread throughout the world. It's kind of like the whole Dragon Ball thing. When they do the wish, suddenly they all just kind of scatter throughout the world, and people have to find them. But anyways, then it cuts forward to this guy named Finn, and he is apparently from an orphanage. The orphanage is having problems, so he's trying to figure out ways to make money for the orphanage. He does a lot of stealing and stuff, all while walking around with his lucky playing card. Just note that. Then later on, he ends up going to a casino and using this lucky playing card to win in the casino. Eventually, this guy walks up. What was his name? Lucky Lunchman, I think his name was. Yeah, Lucky Lunchman. And that guy starts winning everything from Finn. And as he's following Lucky Lunchman around, eventually the casino kind of shuffle them in the back, where they start questioning him if they're cheating or whatever. And then this guy named Bobby Ball shows up out of nowhere and starts like turning people into marbles, because that's some weird ability he has. We come to find out at this point that, yes, there is like 52 playing cards throughout the world, or at least they've been spread throughout this area. And there's a secret organization. There's actually like multiple organizations. The king himself has made an organization called High Card that's supposed to go out and collect all these 52 playing cards. And while the mafia and everybody else wants them too, because they bestow powers upon people. Essentially, the card can select a person. They're called X playing cards. The people that can use them are called players, and each of these cards bestows the person a power. And so, come to find out, Finn is carrying one that gives him like perfect accuracy. So he like summons a gun, and then that gun has perfect accuracy. There's other ones like this one guy, Chris. His card's high calories. It makes him like really, really hungry, but he's immortal. And then you have this guy named Leo, who he has one which essentially is able to. He can basically summon anything in the world. Like he can summon, as long as he can pay for it, he can summon it. So he can basically take a briefcase of money and turn it into a bazooka if he wanted to. Wendy, she's able to like transform into this crazy psycho version of herself. Hint, Kakegurui. And she's like some crazy swordsman. So on and so forth. Summoning firepower, all that kind of stuff. So, and like I said, Bobby Ball, whatever he touches, he can turn into marbles. So yeah, it kind of turns into this whole thing where Finn is now working for this High Card group, and High Card is essentially trying to track down all these cards. And so they'll get calls from the local police or other groups saying, hey, there's a person over here that possibly has a card. Go fetch it. And they'll go over there and they'll try to take them down and acquire the card and bring it down back for their boss, Theodore. So that's generally the gist of the show. Yeah, I'm enjoying the show. Oddly enough, I'm actually enjoying the show. I think it has a little bit of a fun aspect to it. It's a very fun action romp kind of thing. It's very playful with the action. It's very entertaining. I will say that the first episode's amazing. Like they did a really good job on the first episode because it had like multiple people with multiple different kinds of cards. So you had multiple types of elements coming into play, and it felt very chaotic. Like it felt very almost Licorice Coil type of chaotic where it constantly shifts. This person turns this wall into balls. This other person has slips on the balls and lands on a gun and gets himself shot. It's just very chaotic with how it played out. But I will admit, as the series goes along, it sort of starts to get a little more, I guess, focused on like one or two cards versus each other. So Finn with his perfect accuracy going against this lady with flame arms, and then suddenly Leo shows up and bazookas them. So it's getting a little more simpler with the powers and how they combat each other, but it still has a funness to it. It's very goofy. Just the band of they are skilled with what they do, but they're not professionals, I guess. Like Finn and Chris and Leo and all them, they're not professionals at like using their cards, but they still kind of use each other's cards to sort of get to a conclusion, relying on each other in order to take down an opponent that, in most cases, they don't even know what they're getting into. They know there's a card there, they go there, and then suddenly have to figure out, oh, this guy's got, he's this card, which gives them, like, rock body, so obviously they're not going to be, not much, like, bullets and stuff aren't going to hurt them very much, so they have to kind of figure out a way of, oh, well, if we drive the car off the bay and he goes in the water, he's going to suffocate unless he turns back, that kind of thing. So it's using their wits, and they have this element to the cards themselves that each one has a power, but I think me and several other people are still trying to figure out if maybe each of the face card, the club itself, if that indicates something like that, maybe spades are mostly element or something like that. But they do know that the number is the power. So obviously Finn is going to be 2, which is the weakest, but as the number goes up, it becomes more powerful, and I'm guessing if it's a single, then it's even more so. That's kind of been the thing that's been playing out so far. So far, like I said, I enjoy the characters. I think Finn's a good character in the idea that because he's got the weakest card, he has to think on his feet. Chris, obviously, is just, he's immortal, so he's just kind of just brute forcing things as well. But Wendy's crazy because she's the one that, if she uses her power, she loses her mind. So she's kind of like literally a double-edged blade. VJ seems more calm. He's got like root powers and stuff like that. So it's been interesting in that regard. The overall story really hasn't done much to really impress me. It's just Yakuza wanting the power of the cards to use against the government or whatever, and the government not wanting people to have the cards. You also have the detective group, which is like Greg, which he's obviously a crooked cop, and then you have the fresh off the academy, Sugar Peas, and she is just all about trying to figure out what's going on, even though everybody tells her don't get involved. There's certain things you don't stick your nose in, kind of thing. So far it's been playing out very well, and like I said, it's very entertaining. I haven't seen the recent episode completely through, but I did finish that episode. The previous before the recent episode was really good. It was Sugar Peas really trying to figure out what's going on, and then, like I said, it ends up blowing up in our face, and gosh, Riga Takahashi, as usual, nailing a voice performance like crazy good. But yeah, it's a solid show. I wasn't really expecting anything coming in the show. I actually thought I was gonna be able to watch one episode and be done with it. But I've been enjoying it. It's not crazy story, but it's enjoyable in the end. The cars are like super high polished though. That's the only thing I hate. Like all the cars are CGI, and they're all like every vehicle on the road has like 50 layers of polish on it. They just all shine way too much. But yeah.
So they're foil embossed?
Pretty much, yes. Pretty much, yes. They just kind of, like I said, they don't even like wipe off the brush off the side of the bucket. They just go straight on it with, a thick layer. There you go. That's high card. Kaina of the Great Snow Sea. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 11 episodes. They've already announced that it's going to have a movie as well. This being done by Polygon Pictures. I don't know, some people can probably guess who's writing this one based on it being Polygon Pictures. Tsutomu Nihei, which of course is known is the creator of Knights of Sidonia and Blamu. Yes, Polygon Pictures is working with him once again, doing an original series. So, yeah, of course that's going to catch Andrew's attention. Nihei and Polygon Pictures, they go together like peanut butter and jelly for Andrew. So, but yeah, this one is essentially.
Did they get the Swana in there?
No.
Oh, poor
I don't think
Andrew.
they've ever had Sawano in a Polygon picture show. I could be wrong.
I thought Knights of Sononia was Sawano.
No. I don't think so. I could be wrong. I don't think so. But anyways, yes, this one takes place in a... It's very weird to describe this. This is Nihei. So, essentially, they have this planet that has been completely engulfed by snow, which is not really snow, once I describe it later. And then on these big pillars, these big trees kind of grew from the planet and created this canopy that kind of surrounds the planet as well. So you have, essentially, the planet is 2 layers. Snow, these tall trees, and then this canopy. And so you have these people that are living on top of the canopy, and they think that anything below the canopy is just nothing but snow. And they live up there, and they're pretty much living off of the water the tree provides and the insects that fly around, mostly to repair the canopy itself. And you follow this guy named Kaina, and he's pretty much the last person of this village. Like, the rest of the village that he's with is a bunch of old people, and they're all kind of concerned that Kaina's not going to have anybody once they pass away, but they're still kind of teaching him everything he needs to know. That they have this guy named the Signkeeper who is desperately trying to teach Kaina to read the signs. Like, he has all these old signs which obviously look like they're from Japan, pre-apocalypse, I'm guessing. There's things like, look above you for falling debris or whatever, for like construction sites, those kind of signs. And he's like, I don't know why this guy wants me to learn this, but the Signkeeper, apparently some traveler like came by, and he was from his village, which had died away, and the Signkeeper told him it was very important to learn them, and that one day you'll have to be able to read these signs for something reason. So I'm guessing they're going to find ancient civilization that's going to have Japanese signs, and it's going to be important to know how to read it, I'm guessing. But yes, like I said, they think that there's no other villages on this canopy. They're the last remaining one. The water is drying up from the tree, and so they're kind of afraid about what's going to happen to Kaina. Well, still happens. We cut down to where the snow is, and yes, there's people down there. One specific one that we follow is Liliha, and she is fleeing with some other people, trying to find this certain type of insect or floating creature that will, essentially, they can hook a basket to, and it will lead them up to the canopy. Because, essentially, there's this other group that is going around to all the kingdoms and forcing them to give them their water supplies. And so she's trying to find alternate water supplies. And she believes there's this sage that fleed up to the top of the canopy that knows how to resolve their issue with the water. So they get one of these floaty things. They get attacked by the Bag Kingdom group. She's the only one that survives. She floats away off to end up being intercepted by Kaina, who is at the time hunting insects. But yeah, it kind of turns this whole thing where, Liliha is a little bit saddened to find that there is no sage up there. This group of elders are like, there's no sage up here. So she has to go back, and kind of helps her get back. So he ends up going down there, and at that point, that's pretty much as far as I've gotten. They went back down. This other kingdom kind of intercepted them, and that's kind of where it left with me watching it so far. But yeah, I kind of wish that I'd gotten a couple more episodes before I talked about this show. But I think overall my thoughts at the current moment is that it's very Nihei. He's very good at essentially crafting what seems like post-apocalyptic worlds. Not really post-apocalyptic worlds, but worlds that you're rediscovering. It's worlds that really feel somewhat familiar, but there's always something to be discovered. It's sort of uncovering the ruins of a previous established civilization, and he's really good at doing that. You start out, it's kind of like a little bit odd, but at the same time, it looks a little bit familiar, and then slowly over time, you're sort of putting things together. Like the snow itself, like I said, is not necessarily snow, because if you fall on the snow, you just sink. Like it's almost like the top layer looks like snow, but it's almost like bubbly. And then once you fall through it, you're just sinking like you're going through water. And they have to have like these special pouches just to keep themselves from basically sinking to their death. So that it's obviously not snow, but they're saying it's snow. And it's those oddities itself that's sort of piquing my interest. What is the canopies, and what is a sage? And again, where is the old civilization? Is it buried under the snow itself? How do they get down there to find it? Those things are kind of raising the question mark already. And obviously the snow isn't water because they can't drink it because they're starving right now, or fighting for thirst, essentially. So Yeah, like I said, so far it's very intriguing, visually, very interesting. It's polygon picture, so yes, it's CGI, but I haven't had too much of a problem with their style, besides maybe a couple shot of the characters' faces sometimes when they turn or whatever, it looks a little bit off, but for the most part, they've been doing very well with kind of getting better at character movement, which was a big issue back in Sidonia days. So they're getting a lot better with that stuff, but just the backdrops, the visual shots of this world is super intriguing, super beautiful, and it makes me crave to know more about the world itself. Even though so far I'm intrigued by the story, but it's not really doing anything that's like totally grabbing me. It's the world so far that's really grabbing me, and like I said, Nihei is really good at rediscovery of civilization that I'm kind of expecting and looking forward to. So I'm keeping my hopes up. I just can't. It's just been a long 3 or 4 episodes, just essentially introducing both sides and then climbing down this big, huge tree. They had to essentially rappel all the way down this tree, and it's like, how long is this going to take? Probably about a month. I'm like, yeah, this is probably going to take about a month to rappel down this big, huge tree. They're essentially like using really old, ancient technology, quote unquote, that is essentially climbing gear. So, yeah, looking forward to it. So, that's my thoughts so far on Kaina. I hopefully a solid series. So, Sugar Apple Fairy Teru. Did you get a chance to watch this one? I kind of expected it to jump on your radar.
I watched 1 episode.
Okay, that's good. This one is streaming on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, done by JC Staff. Source is a light novel. The genres are adventure, fantasy, and romance. And this one opens up with essentially a little bit of history and the idea that mankind used to live side by side with fairies, and they, through this conversation of this mother with her daughter, talking about how the fairies were able to turn this certain type of apple into sugar apple candies, or the sugar itself, and then confectionists can take that candy and turn into confections, and how the candies themselves are like, they expand the life of the fairies themselves. So they really like those candies, and how this mother really badly wants her daughter to know to never look down upon the fairies, because the fairies gave them these candies that they essentially turn into creations. So, but the problem is that like 400 years ago or something like that, I forget the exact time frame, mankind being mankind decided to enslave the fairies, and how they do that is they essentially steal one of their wings, and if they keep that wing in hand, all they have to do is like crush or whatever, and it's essentially like crushing their heart. Like, it literally puts them through insane amounts of pain. So you can kill a fairy just by crushing their wing in your hand. So that's how they pretty much enslave them. They'll take a wing, they'll put it inside of a case, and then they'll often sell the fairies off and trade and whatever. So anyways, we cut to the perspective of this daughter that was being taught all this stuff. Her mother has recently passed away, and she's decided that she wants to go off to the capital, go to the main kingdom. She wants to join this confection contest, so that if she can essentially gain the approval of the king by what she creates, she'll become a confectionist. Then she can go back to her home and create some great thing to send her mother off, so that her mother can essentially pass away without, worrying about her daughter. And so she heads off, and along the way, she has to stop by to get a fairy, a guard fairy specifically, because there are different types of fairies. There's serving ones, there's companions, there's guards, and so she's got to hire a guard one to protect her, because the trip to the capital is very dangerous. So yeah, that's where we kind of start getting into this realm of, I guess, the hypocrisy of on herself. As she arrives in this town, she ends up helping stop some guy from stepping on this fairy and crushing its wing, and then she goes off to the slave trade itself, and then ends up buying this guy named Chalet, who is a guard fairy, and he's just foul-mouthed. And she heads off down this trip, and all the while telling this fairy, as soon as I get there, I'm gonna let you go. Like, she doesn't like the idea of having to use this guy, and she wants to be his friend, but he's at the same time saying, you're not my friend, you have my wing in your pouch in your chest. If I was your friend, you would throw that away or whatever, you give it back to me. But she's afraid of him ditching him. Like, if I give this wing back to him, he's really kind of nasty. If I give this wing back to him, he's probably going to run off, and then I'm going to be killed by bandits or wolves in the middle of the street. So it's like this whole thing of her saying that she wants to be his friend, claiming that she's going to give his wing back once she gets to her destination. At the same time, him kind of, not liking the idea that he's basically being used, but at the same time accepts the fact that this is his life. He's always known this. Eventually, her quote-unquote childhood friend, Jonas, who's like this, the son of this family that sort of took care of An when her family died, he's following her. And then eventually they get to the part that I got to, and I haven't gone back to it, and I have had zero desire to get back to it because it angered me so much. It's pretty much where I left off in my video that I made impressions on, whereas at some point Jonas steals An's confection and then runs off while his fairy spreads blood all over An, and a pack of wolves come to kill her. So,
oh really?
What? Right? I made a huge rant about that because it just makes no sense, but whatever. So yeah, your thoughts on that first episode? Did you like Jonas?
No, you broke everything. I did not think Jonas was that bad. I thought he was kind of cool.
Did you like Jonas?
Wow.
Spoiler.
No, I was fine with it. The one episode I watched, everything seemed pretty solid. And obviously it doesn't get solid after that. So, man, you just totally ruined the show for me.
No, I'm sure there's some deep explanation, Chris.
No, I honestly, like I said, I was enjoying what I had seen of it. I thought it looked fantastic. Absolutely drawn in by the artwork. All the characters look fantastic. A lot of the animation, from what I could tell, looked really good. So yeah, I with a solid setup, especially with the dynamics between the humans and the fairies, and being this kind of intermediary trying to change the way that fairies are looked upon, getting into the kind of background into the silver confectionist or something like that Shal seemed to be very interested in, and having the smell of one. So yeah, there was a lot of things that they were setting up in at least the first episode that I thought gave it a lot of intrigue. So yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the silver candies that the fairies like. It's very interesting how they kind of point out the fact that the fairies don't eat things like we do. They don't shovel in their mouth. They just put their hand over it and it consumes it. The only thing they can really kind of taste is the candies. That's why they like the candies. And like I said, that supposedly extends the life of the fairies, so they like them. But no, I think so far it's visually beautiful. I think it's got a great style to it. The character designs are fantastic. The visual style kind of goes for this whole kind of very beautiful eyes and very, very beautiful wings. My gosh, the wings are gorgeous. The style of the characters themselves is really great. And then you have this almost... There's two different styles to the backgrounds and everything. Some of them go for kind of this little... they're both kind of very fairy tale book-ish, but this almost sketchy style for some of it, and some of this other style is just very, again, plain fairy tale picture book-esque. So I think it all kind of blends together very well. The world and everything is what I'm most interested in. I think they've kind of built it very well, this idea of the humans enslaving the fairies having different styles. They kept joking about the fact that that Chalet is like a companion fairy. She's like, no, I didn't get a companion fairy. Which, yes, if you know what a companion fairy is, I don't have to explain it. So it's kind of funny in that regard. But he's very nasty. And I was not really sure. I'm still at this point, even the few episodes that I'm in, I still don't know if I like what they're doing with An and Chalet so far. I do like the aspect of them not really trusting each other, even though An claims that she wants to trust him. She doesn't really trust him. So when she sleeps and she wakes up, suddenly he's there right at her neck going to grab the wing. She panics because she thinks he's going to steal it and run off and leave her dead. So there's this forced trust thing that's kind of happening between the two of them. The thing that I don't like so far is that you'd assume it's going to be one of those things where An loves the fairies and is the only one in the world that will trust and try to take care of the fairies, and the fairies will be drawn to her. That's the assumption from the opening scene, because she's this daughter that's being trained by her mother to appreciate the fairies themselves. But she doesn't give that off, especially early on. She claims that she's not a good person. When she saves this fairy in the first opening scene, she's like, I'm nothing special. I'm not some person that's creating peace to the fairies. She believes that she is no better than everybody else. And you sort of see that in the idea that she's not lying to herself when she goes and buys a fairy. She knows perfectly well where she's going to what she's going to go do and what she's going to end up doing for the next, few weeks, because she's going to have to force a fairy to protect her. So I like the fact that she's not the grandstanding person that jumps on the milk box and goes, "You all should be nice to the fairies." She knows that she's doing something that's equally as bad as they are. And so I do appreciate that. The problem that I see in the relationship...
That's a flawed character.
How dare you?
Gosh.
The thing that's bugging me so far is Chalet. I know it is totally a thing in this particular... It's not necessarily labeled as a shoujo, but it kind of fills that sort of type of shoujo where the guy is super rough. He's super dark.
He's a black prince. Call him what it is.
He's a bad boy. He's always yelling at her to order him. So when the bandits attack, she's going, "Can you please fight them off? Scare them away or whatever. Protect us." And he's like, "Order me." She's like, "No, I want to ask you." And he's like, "No, I won't do anything until you order me. Squeeze that wing in your pouch. Tell me to go do it." It's like, she just told him that she wants to request him to do things. She doesn't want to demand him to do things and would love him to help her and that she's going to free him afterwards. But he's so dead set on her treating him like everybody else does. And it's like, why would he not be okay with finally not being ordered to do things and just chill for a little while? Like, even if she lies in the end, at least you got to chill for a little while. But no, it kind of turns this whole, I don't know, thing where it's not so much her stopping him from believing that he has to be ordered and to accept that she's not like everybody else. It's turning more into her now accepting how he wants it done, which is to be mean. And it's like, why are we going that direction? We're going opposite. Again, I know why it's there. I just don't like it. I know there's a group of people that want it. Have it, I guess. But no, I think the biggest thing that kind of, again, it reared its head at the very end, obviously, is it does really feel like this show, at least like I said, for the first few episodes that I've watched, and I'm sure it's going to hopefully turn itself around at some point, but it feels like it's trying way too hard to say humans bad, fairies good. Because every fairy that she's run into, even though they try to make it imply that this fairy is doing something bad, no, they're not actually bad. It's the humans that are all bad. And so it's like the random guys they run into at the priestess house or the healer's house or whatever, the doctor's house, and then Jonas and just the guy at the very beginning that was beating the crap out of Mithril. It's just every human in this world is evil bad. And Jonas was like the camel's back and was like, oh gosh, are we just going to do this for every human? Every human is evil. All the fairies good. I don't know. I was hoping that it would be more of an aspect of on being the bridge. The bridge to sort of show both sides that, we can sort of... Yes, she's not going to fix everything. I don't expect her to fix everything, but at least to kind of bridge the gap in the middle to sort of shift things a little bit. But yeah, the Jonas is still mad about the Jonas thing, because the reason why Jonas thing bugs me so much is like, you remember the opening sequence. What was it implying? An was going to leave.
That Jonas was in love with An, and that he really wanted her to stay. But yeah, that's not a way to get the whole to come back.
Eventually you find out that Jonas wants to essentially become like one of these noble confectionists. Like he wants to be one of these special type of confectionists that is part of the noble family, which makes a bunch of money. So the assumption is he's stealing the confection so he can go off to the same contest that she's doing, use her candies to win it, and then she'll become a noble confectionist. The problem is that you said it. What happened at the very beginning? He tried to stop her from going to the stupid confectionist thing. It's like, why would he stop her if he wants to use her candies to turn it into the contest? I understand him tricking her into being, I'm in love with you, just to kind of use her eventually to steal her candies. But the problem really lies in the idea that we're going from, I knew this guy since I was young because my mother died and his family's been taking care of me. I guess technically it wasn't that long ago when her mother died, but his family's been taking care of him. She's obviously known who this guy is. They've been around each other for a while. And yet suddenly we're supposed to believe that even though she has never had, I assume that she would say if he's, man, every now and then he just does these crazy things that I think are really evil. No, she never indicate that this guy is, a murderer. But yet we're supposed to believe that on a whim, he literally has his fairy drag blood and a pack of wolves, throw it on her to have the pack of wolves shred her to death. I mean, it's a stretch to have somebody that evil on a whim. Like, I guess she can just take the candies and run off with them. Kill the other horses so that she can't leave. And take the last horse and run off with the candies. You don't have to enact a gruesome murder. That's like, you go from just being like a jerk noble to being a psychopath. Like, there's a stretch. Like, there's murder, there's theft, and then there's like gruesome murder. Like, this is like horrible stuff that he wants to do. So you're pulling you're stretching my willingness to accept this turn in this character way too much. So
you can't steal her candy if she's dead, though.
You can't steal them if she's dead?
Yeah, if she's dead, she can't make any more candy.
Yeah, so hopefully don't break that one that you got. The one that you're stealing right now that she just made, don't make sure not to break. And he's like running off with his carriage, and the carriage is like bouncing around. Like, it was literally sitting on the table in the back of the carriage. So I don't know, maybe she glued it to the counter and it's not going to fly off and crack. That was my mindset when they first made it out in the middle of nowhere. I'm like, you still had to transfer that thing. Like, I have this Cardcaptor Sakura figure that has like these little swirlies around it, so it's almost similar to what she ended up making. Very gorgeous thing that she makes, by the way. And it's got like all these little very thin swirls and stuff, and it's like, you gotta package that stuff really good to move it. And that's plastic. What she made was candy. Sugar. I don't know, maybe sugar or silver sugar apples candies are like super strong. But no, guy punched it when they were at the doctor. The guy basically smashed his fist down on it and it crashed. So it's not like it's candy. Anyways, dragging this out. So anyways, it's okay though. Very beautiful. I'm still wanting to get back to it. I'm not giving up on it. Jonas may be mad, but I'll probably still watch it to the end because I think it's just a really beautiful. Like I called it, it's a very beautiful, disgusting world, and I'm intrigued by it. So
I absolutely make no promises I'm going to get back to this one.
You gotta watch Onimai. Everybody criticized Chris for not watching Onimai or Magical Revolution.
I have two other shows that have added to my list, so yeah, it's very unlikely.
At least. Ippon Again. I don't know if I really want to get too much in this one because this is one that I barely peeked into, but it's running on High Dive for 13 episodes, being done by Bakken Record, Sources of Manga, Slice of Life Sports. Essentially follows a group of girls who end up going. One of the girls, Michi, she kind of claims that she's going to do this one last tournament, and that's going to be her last tournament. She's going to leave judo forever, but because she just wants to move on with her life, and she doesn't feel like she's getting enough growth from her judo. And so happens when she goes to her new school, she ends up getting roped into it anyways, because the person that ended up beating her in that tournament feels really bad about it, but had a lot of fun, fighting her in judo. So she overhears what school she's going to, enjoys the same school, so that she can rope her into playing judo with her, basically. And so, yeah, Michi ends up getting dragged right back into judo. We also have Michi's friend, Sanai, who essentially joined because Michi wanted her to do that. And she's always had fun with her, so even though she doesn't want to express it, she kind of wanted Michi to rejoin as well. And so they all do judo together and roll really beautifully.
Was the animation as amazing as that PV made it?
No, it's Bakken Records, Chris. What the hell do you expect from Bakken Records?
That freaking PV,
Bakken Records?
That PV, though. It
PV
looked freaking amazing.
I was saddened by that, too, because that was one of my same thought process. And like I said, I kind of knew based on Bakken Record, I'm like, this studio hasn't really done jack squat. I don't think they're really going to be able to pull this. But who knows? Maybe they got like a ton of budget. No, just a few really good animations, and that's about all they wanted to animate. The rest of it's just mostly just kind of sliding stills and Yeah, it doesn't look too great. I mean, I still appreciate the visual style, but they kind of just most of the scenes are replaced by chibis. Like you'll have the characters talking and it shows like above the building, and then you see little popping up faces that are chibi talking the conversation because they don't want to actually animate their faces. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. But no, I think overall, jokes aside, complaints aside about the animation and everything, all that stuff aside, because I think it's still got a really good visual style to it. It's a very unique visual style to it. At its core, so far, what it feels like it's doing is just it's a very slice of life sports show. Like, it's just like, here's slice of life. Sports. The sports is just the vehicle for doing the slice of life. It could change going forward, but from what I've watched so far, it's very about the characters. It's very about the relationships of the characters. So far, what I've seen, has been mostly about the setup for them joining the judo club at this new school. A lot about Michi herself. The fact that she felt like she joined judo because she felt like it would help her, like she would have fun there and it would help her get stronger and all this kind of stuff. And at some point, she realized, I'm not getting better. Like it kind of insinuates that she felt like she just wasn't she was getting nothing out of it. Like she wasn't getting stronger. She wasn't winning. She was getting nothing out of it. So she felt like she was wasting her time. And the moment that she steps away from it, somebody, she has a bout with Toa, and suddenly she goes, damn it, why did you have to remind me how much fun this is? And she goes right back into it. She still loves the thrill of it. And that's something that Toa shows her. A good portion of it's about Sanai herself and the idea that, like I said, Michi kind of has been her childhood friend. At some point, she kind of just said, hey, join judo with me, and she decided to join her. Her family felt like, okay, this is a phase, have fun with it in middle school, but once you get past middle school, kind of move on with your life. Like, you're going to step away from judo. We're not going to, the father's like all worried, like they're always having like, a lot of stress because they're afraid of her coming home with broken bones and stuff like that. But deep down, the father's like, the moment she brings that paper out again and says, I still want to be in the club, he immediately comes out with a stamp. Where's the stamp at? It's like, yeah, dad wants her to do whatever she wants to do. It was super cute. Some cute little moments between Michi and Sanai, and the idea that Michi still remembers all of Sanai's first matches, her first win, and how much that means to her. You feel that really close connection between the two of them. Probably can say a little bit of the idea that Sanai's a little bit Yuri bait, but it's just got a cute little relationship between the characters so far. And again, like I said, it's just them coming together to do judo. And while the judo is not like a heavy part of it, there's a little bit of knowledge in there about what judo is. But for the most part, like I said, it's a very slice of life sports show. You could say cute girls doing cute things. If you can see some frames with them, that's actually animated. I usually, if I do a cute girls doing cute things, it's got to be really well animated and have really great character designs. So this one's unfortunately not very well animated. So we'll see though. I'm hoping to get back to it. I still want to give it a shot, but for now, it's kind of a toss up for the moment. So Ippon Again. Ippon. Oh, one of the delayed shows. Should we even talk about it, or should we wait until the next season? Did you even start it?
Yes, I did.
Oh,
I absolutely loved it, and I'm very mad that it got delayed.
All the shows that Chris is watching are all delaying. I think it's the Chris curse. It's the Chris curse. Yes, Kubo won't let me be invisible. I am kind of disappointed this one got delayed because I was enjoying it for what I've watched of it so far. But yeah, this one's streaming on High Dive, running for 12 episodes, done by it was going to run for 12 episodes. Who knows what now? Done by Pine Jam. I think like I said, I think this is one of the few ones where they've delayed it indefinitely, so it's probably gonna kick back up next season ? But essentially follows a guy named Junta. He's the archetype of I'm invisible to everybody. He like literally has to touch his teacher on the shoulder for the teacher to see him, just to make sure that he gets his perfect attendance. He still has perfect attendance, even though nobody knows that he's there because he literally has to go to the teacher every day. But there's one girl that can always see him, and that is Nagisa Kubo. And that's his neighbor in his classroom.
Definitely not a teasing girl.
And I don't really feel it so far. But yeah, Kubo constantly, every day, pays attention to him and tries to drag him out of that, what he is basically invisible. And so it kind of turns into, at least for what I've watched so far, it kind of turns this whole thing where Kubo essentially tells Junta, hey, or Shiraishi, to do something to kind of test the boundaries of his invisibility. So the idea, like in the first episode where she goes, hey, if nobody could see you, you could stand up on your desk and nobody would notice. So yeah, she begs him, because he's super cute. So she's like, can you please do it? And so he finally decides to do it. And so he kind of does this whole thing where he gets up on, like, he kind of crouches into the chair and then he slowly pushes himself up until he's fully standing. And then he raises up one leg up into the air. And then finally the teacher goes, hey, Shiraishi, can you sit down? And then it's like this whole embarrassing moment. So, and that kind of transitions, have some moments where he walks away from her while she's calling out to him because he believes that he's talking to somebody else. And that makes her pouty face and so on and so forth. Your thoughts?
I absolutely love this show. It is so brilliant. It's kind of this, in a way, it's this backwards kind of take on the everyman, because effectively he is the background character, but his as she even coins herself, she says, "I am your heroine." She is the main character's love interest, and he is the protagonist. And whether he wants to be or not, she's going to make him into the protagonist. So I love this kind of interplay between the two of them, with him fully accepting the fact that he is the background character, and her forcing him into the hero's into the, maybe not necessarily hero's journey, but in a way that he probably will at some point start going down that path. And I love how they're playing into that. And I think that there's a lot of really cool little tidbits, especially with a lot of the comedy involved with the two of them. Him kind of trying to get the door to react to him, and her just watching him try again, and then somebody else coming up to the door and him trying to get in there before the door closes, and ends up smashing his face into it, and she just goes, oh, he didn't quite make it. So yeah, I love this show. I think it's absolutely adorable, and I'm just loving it.
I think what I loved about that whole segment was the idea that Kubo is so open to what Shiraishi enjoys. It's not one of those things where, like, they just obsessed with the main character and all they care about is talking about the main character and what the main character is looking like at every 2 seconds. She's being proactive in the idea of finding out what he enjoys and trying to look into his interest, and the idea of, like, he's really into manga and stuff like that. So she's interested in what type of books and stuff that he's reading. So she wants to borrow some of them so she can get something to discuss about it. So she's showing that interest in outside of your typical norms of just constantly just talking about how great he is. Now, the big frustration that I have, and maybe that's kind of going against what I just said, is I don't get why she loves Shiraishi so much, and I'm assuming that's something they're going to get into eventually, but it's just like, this is the most plain, but like, if your whole story concept is that Shiraishi is just nothing, that nobody notices him, obviously Kubo notices him, and maybe there's something that they haven't discussed that she has seen about him, but the whole concept is that he is just always by himself and invisible. I mean, what did he do to gain her heart so much that she's obsessed with him? I mean, she's got like this massive crush on this guy.
Andrew, I'm gonna put it down right now. I don't even want to know. Because more than likely
it's gonna be stupid.
It's gonna be stupid, and you know that. So why are you asking this?
He picked up her napkin at some point, and that just dokied her.
You know that you don't want to know.
He must have saved her life
for her.
He rescued her from a burning building, and he forgot.
No, it's not going to be that crazy.
But I do appreciate the fact that I don't, as much as I wanted this, as much as I assumed this was going to be another teasing Master Takagi-san or something like that. I mean, literally, Kubo looks like teasing Takagi-san when she first looks over him at the desk. Like, they basically copied and pasted Takagi into Kubo, so you have the same like lookovers. Except he's on the furthest point from the window, so he doesn't have the MC desk, which big shock by the way.
Right?
For once, they're not.
Well, I told you this is the anti protagonist in every way.
They're not the MC window seat, which is outside window. He's the opposite MC seat, which is next to the hallway window. So he still has a window to look out. But it's kind of interesting, the idea that they have the same like perspective shots and stuff with Kubo. She literally looks like those usual looks of Takagi-san from TZM's Takagi-san, but it's not that. Like it's just a step up maturity from there, because it just seems like there's more of acknowledgement here. Shiraishi doesn't go, Kubo, man, doesn't go home and do push-ups because Takagi teased him or whatever. He does seem to get it, even though he still has that question of like, well, why is she doing this? Is she just bored or whatever? It doesn't feel like puppy love-isk, where it feels like Kubo believes that where Shiraishi believes that she's just after him, which is different than, like I said, TZ Master Takagi-san. So I do appreciate the fact that it's still kind of taking a different feel. And like I said before, I don't believe that it's quote-unquote teasing, but it's just more of the, like you said, where it's trying to test those boundaries of what it is to be hidden away and pull yourself out of that hidden self, I guess. I don't know how to explain that. So yeah, that's the delayed show of the season. I think they said the episode 6 is, I think, airing, and then it's delayed until a re-airing in spring. So we'll see. We'll see. One of many delaying shows. Speaking of another delayed show, Farming Life in Another World. I'm just joking.
My gosh.
I could just tell what shows Chris actually watches, and I'm just going to joke about him every time. No, Farming Life in Another World is not delayed yet. Of all the shows that got delayed, I wish it would have been this one. No, actually, of all the ones I think that should have got delayed, it would have been that Ice Blade Sorcerer and the 30-year Chill in My 30s. Those two should have been delayed. Don't delay Nier and everything else. But Nier's coming back. Anyways, Farming Life in Another World on High Dive, 12 episodes. Zero G is working on it. Fantasy light novel or based on a light novel, and this one is where this guy, I don't think they named him. You essentially have this guy that is in, I think, our world, a world that has TV at least. He dies. His life has been pretty crappy, so the god's basically like, oh, hey, I'm going to give you a new life. And kind of like the whole Grace of the Gods kind of thing, where he wants to give him a better life. So he's like, is there anything you really want in this new world? And he's like, well, while I was in bed, I watched a lot of like farming channels. And so I guess I'd like to be a farmer. And so he's like, oh, cool. Let me check with somebody real quick. And he picks up his phone, like God's picking up his phone, like, hey, what's up, guy? Yeah. Yeah. Is that right? Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool. Yeah. So we got you covered. We're going to send you over to here, get you away from everybody else. This nice little area right here that's all to you. I'll give you even a special tool, and you're going to have a great new life. And so he sends him off to this new world. Just so happens the place that he sends him to is like this big, huge, deadly forest that is like the land of the demon lord of this world.
Yeah, it's like right next door to the demon lord.
So yes, it's kind of isolated from people because the people don't want to be there, but that's okay. The god kind of messed up. But he did give him a tool, which is this farming tool that like it can turn to any tool that he needs, like a hatchet or a hoe, and it's super easy to do anything.
Seeds the ground. I mean, freaking awesome.
I'm gonna hold off my complaints here. And so yes, he used this axe to basically cut down all the trees around this big, huge tree, and then he starts to use the hoe to pretty much till up the ground and make his crops, and quickly realizes that all he's got to do is think of something that he wants to grow, and then he hits the ground and immediately like fertilizes it and softens the soil up and nurtures it and gets the seeds into it, and then all he has to do is water it, and poof, there's vegetables.
It's super Minecraft harem edition.
Yeah, he's got to dig down to find a well and create his outer barriers, ends up befriending some wolves because he helped them have their babies in a little shelter, and then the wolves go out and find a spider, and the spider can essentially make clothing and embroider. And then eventually this elf comes by where she's fleeing from a noble because the nobles want to take away her research, and so she was looking for a place to stay. So she stays with them.
Vampire.
She's also a vampire, but she was fleeing from the nobles because the nobles wanted her research in medicine. Yeah, it could have been a lie. I don't know. It could have all been a lie, but that's what she said. Why do I say two things? You're like, but I thought she was a vampire. Yes, Chris, but did you miss this part? All I noticed that she wanted a place to stay, and he's like, please stay here. Don't go anywhere. I want you to stay here forever. Because he's like super lonely, and then she, of course, takes that completely wrong, but then he just kind of goes with it. Anyways.
Apparently, he confirmed it in the next episode.
Confirmed what?
That he did actually want to marry her.
I don't remember that, but I wouldn't doubt it. But yes, eventually this angel shows up, and she's been looking for the vampire elf girl. Or I said elf, didn't I? That's what you're correcting. Okay, I'm sorry. Yes, she's a vampire, not an elf. The elves, the angel goes, oh, you need some people to help with your farms. BRB. And then she just like flies off, and then she comes back with this massive group of female elves.
That all want to be.
This whole village was destroyed, and all they have left is just the females, and so they want to repopulate their village with half elves, apparently. So they're constantly like, hey,
I love this show.
We would like to repopulate our village. And he's like, well, you guys are doing good. And he's like, we would like to repopulate our village. Though they said specifically, we want to rebuild the village, and then we want to repopulate it. And he's like, well, you're doing a good job with the rebuilding part. And they just kind of stare at him like, so yeah, the other part. Dropping hints.
He keeps going into his head and going, I wonder how they're expecting to do that next part.
I wonder if
You're a moron, dude.
I wonder if they'll find some people nearby. That's basically as far as I gotten. I seen the brief clip where they did the whole dance festival thing with the wine, which was really gorgeous, by the way, and the music was great. But
I haven't seen that part.
I saw the clip and it was like, holy God, this is like really good animation. The singing, because it has all the girls and they're all singing together, and it's kind of like the whole little, like festival thing. It was really well put together. But yeah, your thoughts?
Love it. This show is absolutely bread and butter for me. It's got the slow life, got the kind of fantasy, build stuff. Has the harem. It literally is catnip for me. Everything I want in a show is right here. I love it.
Bread and butter and now catnip. What are these new terms, Chris? Are you hanging out with new people that have these weird terms that you're getting caught up on?
But yeah, I love it. It is literally giving me everything I want in a show right now. So yeah, I can't suggest it enough.
The best way that I had to describe this, and I was very proud of my thumbnail for this. It's basically Isekai Minecraft. Minecraft with a harem. Because yes, like he kind of joked about earlier, which you probably stole from my video, by the way.
I haven't watched your video.
Totally watched my thumbnail. No, because nobody else thought of this, Andrew. Only you thought of this. Everybody else is like, I thought Minecraft too. What the hell is he talking about? He made it. But no, it literally feels like that, and he just kind of gets transported to this world, and he just starts building up this village. I will say, it's sort of one of those ones where you kind of wonder why the character's okay with this, because the thought process that he's like, yeah, watch this farming channel. I thought, so badly I want to do farming. And he literally goes to this other world, and he does no work. That's not how you farm. If he watched all this farming stuff, he would know how much effort it goes into just making the ground fertile. All he has to do is literally hit it with the hoe, and it's instantaneously fertile, and it's got manure and all the nutrients it needs, and a seed. Like, he doesn't even have to go find seeds. He literally just hits the ground, and boom, crop happens. That's not farming. He has no idea how difficult it is to farm. He doesn't even know how hard it is to cut down a tree, because all you gotta do is turn the little X, and he hits the tree, and it blows up. It's like, he does no work. This is not farming life in another world. This is literally swing the magic rod around, and things happen in another world. Nothing about what he's doing is farming life. It's just, it happens, and he thinks that he did something. That's the only struggle I have with it, but it's not supposed to be difficult, and I don't think anybody would want to watch an entire episode of him chopping down one tree. Nobody's going to watch an entire episode of him literally tilling the ground for several days just
Andrew,
to make it fruitful.
We came for the girls.
Right, you want the cute vampire lolly that when she loses her power, she gets smaller, which is she wants to be smaller so that he's not tempted, which is completely opposite to what she thinks is going to happen. Like when she comes back out and he's like, wait, you look smaller again. She's like, yeah, I thought I'd be smaller just so you don't have temptation. And I'm like, girl, you're playing into a whole different group of people. But no, it's like, Anyways, he makes this town. And the immediate thought that I have is like, you don't build a farm under what, Chris? A giant tree where you get maybe 2 hours of sunlight. Yeah, I think in the end, what I kind of come down to with this show is that it's kind of one of those shows where it's great as a relax, watch it, see guy build gigantic harem, and enjoy gigantic bath with 15 waifus. There's no... The driving force of all these girls literally is they appear here and suddenly they're devoted love to this guy that has like nothing going for him besides the fact that he just wants to farm and just chill. So there's not much thought put into these characters so far besides just, seeing guy and suddenly devote entire life to him, and he just kind of like, shrug, I have a spider now that makes clothing. So again, it kind of plays in that whole thing where it's not meant to be super deep. There's not massive character development here. It's just relax, see him easily build things that normally would take a long time to build, and massive harem around him, and enjoy their time together. It's a very relaxing, don't think too much about it type of show, and for that reason, it's kind of one of those ones where it's just kind of shrug for me. I think for me, yeah, if I ever want to kind of just relax, I might fire it back up, but it's not something I'm going after because there's nothing really here too much to really sink my teeth into, unfortunately. But I don't know. I think it's probably just the Mushoko's spoiling me, man. Mushoku Tensei is spoiling me, man.
Maybe.
Again, each do their own thing. I'm not expecting this to do Mushoku stuff. It's just I need a little bit more. I need a little more to chew on, I guess, is my thing. So we'll see. Again, like I said, I think it's good for just a relax and chilled show. So it does that.
And some of us just want relax and chill shows. Right.
Tomo-chan is a girl. I cannot get that English Seiyu out of my head. Ugh. It's a girl. This one's streaming on Crunchyroll for 13 episodes. Done by sources of manga being done by Ledus. The director is Hitoshi Nanba, who did Fate Grand Order, First Order, and Kanmu, Golden Kanmu. But yeah, this one opens up with Tomo-chan, who is a girl, obviously. And one day she confesses her love to her childhood friend Jun. But Tomo does not realize that childhood friends never win. And so she made her first mistake. But no, the actual problem with this show is that, or the story is that Jun, her childhood friend, sees her as a boy. So she's trying to desperately figure out why she can't get him to see her as a girl and to go out with him because she actually loves him and wants to date him and stuff. So thus starts these shenanigans. We also have another childhood friend of this particular duo, which is Mizusu. And Mizusu loves loves playing the puppeteer in the background. Mizusu loves Tomo. Like, she will do anything to protect Tomo. Like, if anybody does Tomo wrong, she's the first one to be like, where are they at? She does that at some point, like, where's this person so I can take him out? Tomo gets touched by somebody in a train, and she tells Mizusu's like, where's this guy at so I can kill him, basically. But no, she loves being the puppeteer in the background, so she tries to help Tomo with advice and stuff like that, how to be more girly and, basically she loves messing with Jun, like, specifically. Like, she just torments the hell out of him, but yeah, she's kind of the puppeteer in the background. Eventually they meet Carol, who's this foreign exchange student. She's super goofy. They also have Keisuke Misaki, who is Tomo's senpai, and he's like the prince of the school that everybody loves. So Tomo being around him obviously creates some jealousy. But yeah, that's basically the gist. It's just the Tomo trying to figure out how to be acknowledged as a girl. I do like the fact that very quickly, I think literally within the first episode, they actually have this scene with Mizusu and Jun, and he literally points out that, yes, he knows Tomo is a girl. It's just the insinuation is that he probably doesn't want to get in a relationship with Tomo. She wants to remain bros, essentially, because he's afraid of ruining that friendship between the two of them. So he's pretending like he thinks Tomo is actually a boy. But yeah, it's this is the one that you got around to?
No.
You didn't. How horrible. You do not know the wonders of Mizusu. I think I told you at some point, like, you're going to love Mizusu. Like,
I probably would.
Mizusu's typically the type of character I don't like in shows, but she's just totally working in the show. Like, she totally works in the show. Again, she's kind of the manipulative, like, psychopath girlfriend on the side that just does it. Like the quote unquote girl, I forget what her name was. The girl in Fruits Basket. Her friend from school, the one that had the long hair and she was like super creepy.
I could totally
like that. You see the face and you know.
I see the face and I can already figure that more than likely she would be like best girl in the show for
and that's
easily.
The crazy thing, because I think like currently my thoughts on this show is like one of those aspects. I'm fine with Tomo. She's Rie Takahashi, so she's got the voice going. I'm okay with Jun. He's fine. It's kind of a little blank for me. I like the chemistry of Tomo and Jun. I think that joke's going to get old very quickly. So what it comes down to is that your main story joke is Tomo wants Jun to see her as a girl, and Jun wants to see her as a boy because she wants to keep his friend. On the side, you have Mizusu. She literally makes the show because this chemistry is just kind of repeating itself. Mizusu is the one that's shaking things up, and the chemistry that she has with both Jun and Tomo is perfect. She's where you get the dynamics. And so all the good scenes includes Mizusu. Like, one of the first moments that I literally laughed out loud when I was watching the show is a scene where Mizusu's talking to Jun and she's telling Jun she's going to find a boyfriend if you don't stop doing this whole thing. And she's like, and then she starts teasing him by saying, and then they'll go out on dates together. And she's going on and on about all these things that she'll do with her new boyfriend. And Jun literally just pushes her out in the rain. And she turns around and she just looks at Jun. And the rain's pouring on her. And she's just staring at him. And like, how petty was that? Like, this guy is so petty. And they do that over and over again. Like, other scenes, you'll have Mizusu's like teasing Jun, and then he'll just take her scrunchie out of her hair and just chuck it. It's like, this guy's so petty with her. It's like he doesn't yell at her, he doesn't punch her or anything like that. He just does things that are just kind of petty just to get back at her, or flick her on the forehead. It's just the chemistry right there is just like super good. And like I said, it just makes the show for me. Carol is just weird. Like, she's just so freaking weird. So that's like all the humor around her is just how she's not like, she's like very ditzy foreigner, and it just comes across as like not everything's sparking up there for her. Like, she's not on all cylinders. She's like maybe on a half a cylinder most of the time. So a lot of that comedy comes from her, just how just off the wall she is most of the time. So I do get a kick out of her several times, but like I said, that my big problem that I'm having right now is that main core chemistry is like, that's where I'm afraid. Like, I don't know if that concept has legs, and you can't resolve that and still have it be called what it is. So I know they're not going to resolve it anytime soon, but they've had some good moments between Tomo and Jun. Like I said earlier, the whole thing with the groper in the train, having that moment where Jun literally freaks out, and you're like, yes, this guy knows who she is, and so he's going to step out. I'd be more angry if he just ignored it because he wants to hide the fact that he knows that she is a girl. So it ends up working out in the end. But so far, it's like, it's a very, I'm okay and I'm enjoying it, but at the same time, I'm not sure if this show is going to continue to be good. But yeah, if anything that sounds interesting, definitely check out Tomo-chan is a girl. Sorry. The Fire Hunter. I don't even want to talk about this show. I don't even want to talk about this show. This one's streamed on Crunchyroll, done by Signal MD. The source is a novel. It's a fantasy story. Okay, so the concept here is that at some point mankind kept developing stuff, and eventually disasters happened, and then the biological structures of mankind changed. Like, some sort of disease or something like that happened that changed mankind's physical nature. And the idea that if anything, like a fire, or even a spark, comes near a human, they'll burst into flames. Like, it's like spontaneous human combustion. So mankind essentially flee to the forest, into the darkness, and they hid away from the flames of the world until eventually the appearance of these people known as the Fire Hunters, which will go out and they'll kill these beast creature things and acquire this sort of flame that comes from those beasts. And it's not necessarily a flame, it's sort of a resource that will give them light again. So the fire hunters kill these beasts, save mankind from them, and they give them this resource now that is a replacement for fire. And then they're able to rebuild their cities and rebuild their societies, basically. And over time, you have like the main cult group, which is the big leadership government, and then all these cities and villages that are trying to rebuild. And it's kind of interesting, the idea that they sort of established that each civilization, each group of people are sort of building themselves back differently. Like when we open up our first episode, we have Toko, who is living in this very small village. It almost feels like that village is sort of trying to keep to old traditions. They believe in their gods, and they're very about tradition and everything like that. And they're not really so much like they're building skyscrapers and stuff. But then you also have other areas like this Koshi guy that we follow quite a bit of. He's sort of in an area where they're trying to reclaim almost the industrial period of mankind, trying to rebuild factories and stuff like that, rebuild society as it used to be. And so you're sort of following those two perspectives, one from Toko and one from Koshi. At some point, Toko is out in the forest, and she ends up getting saved by one of these fire hunters, but he ends up getting a fatal wound and dying. And this fire hunter entrusts Toko with his sickle and his dog, because each one of these fire hunters has a dog with them and a sickle. And so she takes a sickle and the dog back to the village, and the village is really angry. They're like, they believe she's a curse because when she was younger, her family, in like these winds happened, it caused a natural fire, and the fire engulfed their parents. So they believe that she's cursed. And so they believe that she's cursed, the idea that now you've killed a fire hunter. So they're like, okay, take this wolf, take the sickle, because the wolf will only follow her because he was commanded to. Take them back to the capital, because that's obviously where his family's at, and return his belongings to them. And so she's on a journey to go back home. So for most of the trip, she's taking these trains. It's almost like Cabaneri the Iron Fortress. So you have all these villages, and in between is dangerous. So you have these gigantic train things that go through each area and bring goods to each area and tributes. And so she takes a trip with them for quite a while. And from the other perspective, you have Koshi, who he is, again, in this one industrial area, and he's trying to find a sort of advancement in the resource that they now have. Something that will make this family that he's being taken care of by able to rise up against the current powers of the society. So that's pretty much it from that end. So my thoughts on this show. Episode 1 was so good. Like, if you go watch my video on Fire Hunter, I was like on fire, jokes aside, or jokes intended, I guess, on fire about the show. Like, that first episode was gorgeous. It had a unique style to it. It was just the writing, the dialogue, everything was perfect. It basically made me feel like this was a living, breathing world. I believed, because based on the dialogue they had, like they were talking about the papers they wanted to send Toko with. They wanted to make sure that was done by the paper that they produced from the mill in this village, which they used for tribute. They wanted the best paper, like the brightest paper they could possibly get, to send her with this note to bring the equipment back to the main town with his sickle and his dog. They didn't want to use bad paper, because then it would make the village look bad. Like, they're really big on traditions and giving proper tribute. And every line of dialogue, I was like, I believe that this world exists. It feels like this is a rebuilding society, and it's almost gone back to the age of these old traditions. And again, then you swap over briefly over to Koshi, where he's sitting in this industrial area. And so it feels like every area has either gone back to traditions or tried to claw their way back to how society used to be. And again, it all felt beautifully portrayed, and it visually was so gorgeous. Then episode 2 happens. It's okay. It's the whole part where Toko goes to leave and everything. It feels okay. A lot more focus on Koshi. And then 3 and onward, it feels like 2 major things happen. One, the animation goes dog crap. Like, it absolutely goes to dog crap. Like, it barely looks like it's moving. Half the time it's very awkward frame shifts. It's the whole panel over panel over panel kind of thing, just to kind of avoid having to do different perspectives and stuff. And the action scenes, I don't know. At first I thought they were trying to be artistic with the action scenes, but it's just awful. Like, it's just absolutely awful. Like, I cannot unsee this one scene where they're fleeing from the train, quote unquote train thingy, and this guy's got this girl on his back, and he's walking down these roots, going around this tree, and his leg kind of do this like little crab thing to get down. And it's like, oh, that looks awful. It looks so awful. The monsters I can understand if they look a little bit artistic, because that was kind of how it felt in the very first episode. They almost feel like they're foreign looking, very jaggedy and very wiggly lined. But when they kind of start interacting with the people, and the people start looking wiggly and jaggy lined, it's like, who's doing this? Like, is Signal MD animating this, or are they just asking some random person to draw something and they just throw it together and it doesn't match the style or anything? I can get over that, honestly, if the story keeps to a good layout. And unfortunately, past that first episode and that established lore, it's not really doing too much to really keep my attention to oversee that lack in animation, which really sucks, because this is literally the show that I, at least up into the first week of the airing of the season, I was like, this is the show for me. Like, this is going to be that one that I'm going to go, dang, this is so good, nobody's watching it. And now it's like, I can't fault anybody for not watching it, because it's not doing enough to oversee bad production. And so, again, I hope it turns around. I really do hope. I don't think it's going to, though, because the season's falling apart. Everything this season's falling apart.
It's my fault.
Did you touch Fire Hunter, and that's why it's messing up?
It's because I'm not
it's
watching
not delayed yet.
Yeah, because I'm not watching everything.
If it was delayed, then I'll know that you're watching it. Are you watching the Jinrabuchi show?
No.
You're not watching the Jinrabuchi show? What?
I was very excited about Neo, but no.
Neo. Oh, Neo. Yeah.
I wanted to see the crazy girl.
It's not going to be a girl. You know it's not going to be a girl. It's too honestly.
Too many boys in this show.
Yeah, I figured it was going to be nothing but boys, and it's just the one. And I think it's a female Seiyu, but it's got like a very gruffiness to it, so it's probably going to end up being a boy. But anyways, Revenger. Yes, this one's streaming on Crunchyroll.
Did she say Boku?
I don't think they've actually had him say Watashi or Boku or anything like that. Anyways, Revengers, yes, running on Crunchyroll for 12 episodes, being done by Ajado. A source is original. It's written by Jinrabuchi, like I joked out earlier, as well as Rinji Oki. And yeah, this one pretty much opens up with, it's kind of like the tail end of the whole samurai era. And you have this guy who is a samurai that is going to this one location to kill somebody. And then after killing them, he's kind of been staying at the village under a bridge. And then at some point, this guy named Yuen Usui, he asked him, pretty much, the village told me to come down here and find out why you're hanging around. Like, they said this outsider samurai is hanging around. And he's like, oh, I can't come back home. I've betrayed my master and all this kind of stuff. You end up finding out that the person that he came to the village to kill was the father of his fiance. And he was tricked into believing that that father was essentially dealing drugs. But it was actually, he was figuring out that somebody else was dealing the drugs, his actual master. So essentially, this samurai's master had him kill the wrong person to cover up his own deeds. So he's not feeling like he can go back home because his fiance is going to be broken, and he just killed his fiance's father. Anyways, he ends up going back home, but then his master sent people to kill him. This Usui guy ends up saving his life and introduced him into the world of the Revengers, which this guy that talked to the samurai, he's the leader of this group of Revengers, which there's this rumor about this area that if you have a desire for revenge, you take a gold coin and you bite down on it as hard as possible. And somebody will come across to take that coin and they will exact your revenge. Now, the way that it ends up being explained to the samurai as he requests if he wants to join them is because the guy's like, I'm not a hired hitman. Like, this is literally hired hitman. Somebody get mad at somebody, they chew down on the coin, and then you're supposed to go kill whoever they want to kill. I don't get paid to kill people. I'm a samurai, honor and all that kind of stuff. And the way that he explains it to him is, look at how deep these teeth marks are in this gold coin. We're not just going out and killing whoever. Essentially the amount of pressure that these people put on that coin, that's their anguish. That's how much they're hurting. And thus, they'll do their research to find out exactly what's going on. But it's sort of that signal that, oh, this person's actually in true anguish and they want revenge for what's happened to them. So one of the earlier segments they have is this whole situation where this lady was basically betrayed by this guy. and she's been having to sell her own body just to basically pay it off. She took on the debts that her husband that tricked her into it put onto her. And so they're basically going to get revenge for that whole thing. And that's kind of been the concept for the earlier segments, and they kind of go through and introduce each of the characters. Yeah, Neo is the one that has like the kite strings and will string up somebody's neck and then sends off this kite. Like I made a joke about the preview. It's don't ask her to fly a kite, or him, whatever it is. Usui's the weirdest one because he's like the leader. He collects like gold dust and stuff like that, and he makes these gold papers, leaf papers, and then he'll like chant something and slap this gold leaf paper on somebody's face, and like for some reason it doesn't shred or anything, it just makes them suffocate for some reason, and then it'll just kind of, after they die, it'll just disperse. And he always kind of does this little thing where he pulls down his cloak and you see this Mother Mary on his back. But you have Soji, who's like I forget what, I keep wanting to read what they are, but he has these little small like card pieces, and he uses them like darts to kill people. And then yes, Tappa is great. He's the guy that goes up on top of a building. He pulls down his shirt, and then he takes out this big, massive bow that has like harpoons on it, and he pulls it back, and he turns like Hulk, where his muscles bust out, and he turns all red. He just shoots this big old harpoon. They had this scene where this guy's like, he's fleeing, and he has this guard, and the guard is like full plate armor, and they're like, nobody can touch this guard. He's like the perfect defense. And then sure enough, he gets up on the thing, and I'm like, yeah, but a gigantic harpoon shot with this guy with his gigantic muscles probably can go through it. And yes, he just basically harpoons him straight into the water. But, and yeah, basically the main guy, the samurai, he's essentially, his whole thing is like, he's, again, a samurai, so he slices people. But his unique thing is that he'll shout and puts like pressure into his shout so much that he can literally slice through anything. So yeah, that's his whole technique. The whole thing underneath this whole storyline is that this Usui guy, the leader of the Revengers, what he does is the kills they end up doing is sort of tied in with this church. And the church's belief, this one church's belief, the group that he's working with, this Pope chants about the fact that God essentially is the one that will take revenge against the sins taken upon people. But he doesn't act himself. So he employs these guys to go out and enact that revenge for him, or take upon that sin themselves. And it sort of implies that Usui doesn't, when he's at this location and they're chanting all this stuff, he says that it's mankind, that they're taking that interpretation wrong. So it sort of implies that Usui doesn't actually believe what this particular sect is selling this to be. And I'm sort of wondering it's going to be tied into the fact that, yes, again, like he has this tattoo of Mother Mary on his back. So it's obviously that if that is the actual religion that he's doing, it doesn't match up with this religion. And they're still kind of going along with it. So I'm curious if that'll be like the major storyline going forward. But for now, it's doing enough. And the style's great. I love the style of it. I think it's pretty gruesome. It's pretty violent. It's very kind of old school samurai type of show, which has me a little excited because, again, this is Gen Buchi working on it, and it's not supposed to be by name only, even though everyone wants to claim that immediately. He's already tweeted about, Gen Buchi's already tweeted about the fact that he's really excited for this project. Like, he's been wanting to do, like, a samurai story like this for a while now. So it sort of has me hoping that this is something that he wants to do and that he's actually excited for it. Technically, he's been working on the Thunderbolt fantasy stuff. That's technically samurai.
Yeah.
So I don't know if technically Thunderbolt Fantasy is more fantastical, magical samurai, which this one's more gritty samurai. So maybe this is specifically what he wants to do. But it has me excited for when it's going to do the big butcher twist eventually. But for now, it's very fine. It's fine. Like, it's just doing enough to keep my interest, but at the same time not blowing me away. So not that I want it to. Gen Buchi. You know what we're getting into with Butcher. You know what you're getting into. Did you watch The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten?
Just the first episode.
Oh, it's amazing. It's amazing.
See, I went with both of them, and I chose the other one.
Good choice. Good choice. The Angel Next Door Spoils Me Rotten. Crunchyroll's streaming it for 12 episodes. Project number 9's working on it. Light novel, source, comedy, romance, slice of life. This follows Amane or Fujimiya, and he lives next door to Mahiro Shina, who is the angel of the school, the perfect, beautiful girl with high grades. Everybody loves her, and yes, she lives right next door to him. But they don't really communicate with each other at all. They just kind of live next to each other and never communicate at school, never look at each other. Well, one day he's walking home from school, and he ends up finding Sheena just like sitting in the rain on a swing set, and he goes over and is like, "Are you all right? What are you doing out here?" And she's like, "Don't worry about me." And then he ends up giving her his umbrella, and then runs home and gets all wet. And obviously, this is all you need to do to Doki Doki a girl. You just give him your umbrella. Because yes, Sheena. Well, what happens the next day?
It's not only that
he
sick. Got sick.
Yes,
for her.
that dreaded deadly rain in Japan. I just swear, one of these days when we go to Japan, I just want to.
I'm gonna get the.
Do you want to test it?
Get the worst cold ever.
Do you want to test it when we do go over to Japan?
We're gonna have to go to
we just gotta have to step out for 2 minutes and just see if it kills us.
Yep.
Because that rain in Japan's deadly. Anyways, yes. The next day,
but on the
sick.
bright side, when you get a cold in Japan, you get a girlfriend.
Oh, they're gonna come over and make some rice boards ASAP.
Yep.
There'll be like some random girl that said, "I was walking by and I seen you had a little bit of a, redness to your cheeks. You probably obviously were a little bit, fevery."
And they'll put their forehead on.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. As long as you give them the umbrella first. Gotta make sure you run around going, "Take an umbrella, take an umbrella," and then they take the umbrella and you go, "Achoo, yes." Anyways, we're gonna try this out. Yes, the next day he's sick, but he still goes to school, and she knows that he looks like he's kind of looking a little bit glummy, and so she decides to meets him in the hallway out front of their houses and notice he's not looking good, so she kind of welcomes herself into his trashed up house. Like, this dude is just doesn't clean anything, obviously, because he's a boy in school alone. So yeah, she takes care of him as a way to repay him. And then when he's all done, she's all done taking care of him and everything, she eventually just stands there and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, were you expecting me to ask you for something else?" Which is the most awkward thing for a boy to ask some random girl, stranger that's in his house. He's different, though. So he's like, "I'm not going to ask you for anything else." And then what kind of precedes this is that she starts making food for him, claiming that she likes making foods and she knows that he's not going to take it wrong. And so she keeps making food for him. She makes too much for herself. So she's making up the excuse that she wants to give him food as well. She comes over and cleans up his house at some point. And then over time, she just kind of starts just hanging out at his house most of the time, just cooking him food and taking care of him. And all the while, everybody's questioning as if he's asking questions of his friend and his friend's girlfriend about gifts for this girl. And they're like, "Yo, you have a girlfriend?" He's like, "No, she's not a girlfriend." It's just one of those kind of things that kind of slowly builds up. But yeah, that's and then over time you kind of guess that there's some sort of that Sheena has some sort of issues with her family. Like, obviously this is this rich girl that has everything. She lives on her own. She doesn't have to worry about money. But then she has daddy and mama issues probably. And at the same time, Amane just kind of, it doesn't really seem like he has much issues with his family. It seems like his family members are okay. His mom was okay. But anyways, thoughts?
I didn't hate it. I know that at some point I read I wonder if there's a manga version of this. Because you have it down as source light novel. It seems like I read the manga of this, because a lot of the stuff that was happening, it was like, I know I've read this at some point. I know I've seen this at some point, and it's like,
seems awfully familiar, like every other romance show with a perfect waifu girl.
Come on now,
this is very samey to a lot of those.
At any rate, I did enjoy it. It's one of those. It does move a little bit slower in pace than a lot of other ones. It seems like it's taking its time meandering along to get to this kind of point at some point. But unfortunately, I didn't get enough into it to actually kind of start liking a lot of these characters. And so that's the one thing that I do hold a little bit of frustration. Whereas with like the other one, I did kind of get hooked in really quick with those characters. These ones are a little bit more reserved in a lot of their interactions. So it is going to take a little bit of time to get to a point as far as liking a lot of these characters. And unfortunately, since I only gave this show one episode because I was time, I didn't get to those points. So yeah.
It's kind of one of those shows where I think I pushed through 4 episodes, and I was unfortunately extremely bored watching this show, and it's one of those shows where I caught myself falling asleep at some point trying to watch it. And it's not that it's a bad show. It's kind of one of those very overly sugary shows. Like, again, this is the show that you watch with the perfect waifu that does everything perfect, and underneath there's probably some vulnerability that she has that makes her even more likable. It's that type of character. It's really fitting into this mold of the waifu character. And I do agree with people that it almost feels like it's trying to push away the typical tropes that you get from romance, comedy, slice of life shows like this, where it's miscommunications and shenanigans and trips and falls, which they do technically still do. But it's sort of kind of falling apart in other ways. Like, it's trying to break out from the molds, but when it does that, it kind of steers itself into just really rough writing. Like I kind of joked about when I was doing the synopsis, this whole scene where she takes care of him while he's sick, and then at some point she just stands there, and he's like, "What is she doing?" Like, she's asking, like, she's waiting for me to ask for something else, and he says, "Do boys normally would ask you for something else?" Like, he's literally implying you're waiting for me to ask you for a little something something, and it's like, that's a disgusting thing to even ask this girl, and why is he even mentioning this? Like, there was no reason for him to bring that up. There was nothing that was implying that, besides him assuming that's what she was waiting for. And it's like, it's those kind of moments in this show that, and it does that every now and then. There was another one I remembered earlier, and I completely forgot it. But those, oh yeah, there was a whole scene where his mom comes by, and so he shuffles her into his room and says, "I'm going to buy us, I'll get us some time, and then you'll be able to sneak out." And literally the mom figures it out really quickly and goes in the room, and what is she doing in there? She's sitting next to the bed, hugging a pillow, asleep. After literally not even like 10 or 15 seconds, she literally went over to his bed, sat down next to it, and fell asleep. It makes no, there's like these little moments in it that, like, it makes no sense. And from what I'm understanding, the light novel is no different. Like, apparently the dialogue is just so weird there too. It's just weird. Like, it's like it's being wrote by somebody that doesn't understand actual, I guess, human interactions, even though, again, it does feel like it's not going for your typical tropes. It feels like it's trying to go for something normal, but it's not. It's hard to explain. The only time I've actually really enjoyed the show is really Amane Fujimiya's experiences with his friend and his friend's girlfriend. Like, the chemistry with those three work really well. So the part that I got to, they finally showed up and got the secret, I guess. And so it does kind of makes me want to continue on, because, like, now I'm hoping they can inject some chemistry, but I don't know that they would save the show for me. So I want to like it. She's super cute. Like, Sheena's super freaking cute. She's like, her character design is from the character designer of Higehiro. Really looks cute. And again, she's perfect waifu. I just, one, I get bored, and two, the dialogue. Like, why some of this dialogue is so weird. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for some sugar, I mean, that show's got like an OD of sugar inducing. So yeah, check that out if that's what you're looking for, because it's got it for you. But I don't know, it's one of those ones where I kind of would hope that it would be a really solid romance, because it's got all the makings to do that. I don't know if it's really going to be there unless they sort of inject something to sort of explain why this is blossoming so fast, I guess. Like, it's sort of, it's, again, like the Kubo thing, it's sort of indicating that there's some sort of pre-established thing there. If it's an umbrella, then dang. Again, got to give some umbrellas out. Hook in some waifus.
He saved her from the the great earthquake of 1957.
I think I'm gonna say the great rain, death cloud. Surprised she didn't get deathly sick, even though she was sitting out there for a little bit. Maybe she's got to resist. Maybe she's a ghost. Spoiler. Angel next door spoils me rotten. She is an angel. Buddy Daddies. This one's streaming on Crunchyroll for 13 episodes, being done by Studio PA Works. It's an original. It's PA Works banking in on the Anya fandom. But yes, this one is being written by Vio Shimokura, who of course did Tokyo.
Well, obviously
24th
she
Ward.
can't like peanuts. So what does she like?
She likes hamburger.
Hamburger?
Yes,
Gotcha.
hamburger, which is basically Salisbury. No, it's not hamburger. It's just basically a hamburger patty with gravy on it, isn't it? Usually, typically.
It's not
Hamburger.
Salisbury.
I know it's not Salisbury. I think it's just straight up beef. Like they just literally
the
put a hamburger
sauce-
patty on a freaking plate, and it's like, why would you just put a hamburger patty on a plate?
It's like some kind of ketchup mix.
That's the
The
part that I wasn't
sauce.
sure, because I know it's not gravy on it.
It's not gravy.
Yeah, I think it's just ketchup fish stuff. I'll have to look it up later. I never really cared to look it up because you don't make burgers like that. You put them on a bun. Like Tora knows. He knows what a hamburger is.
Mm-hmm.
Even the burger elf from Imminence and Shadow knows what a hamburger is. Anyways, this story follows two guys.
I thought those were tuna sandwiches.
There was like different flavors. Like they had chicken ones and all this kind of stuff. Like I think she had like an assortment of like every type of burger possible. Like anything you could put in a bun, she had one for each of them. Anyways, this story follows Kazuki and Rei, and they are two guys that work together as pretty much hitmen. So if there's like a mob boss doing bad deals or whatever, they get paid to go out there and take them out. They kill people, but only bad people. It's like True Lies. Yeah, but they were all bad. Anyways, as they're going to kill this one guy, they end up Kazuki specifically ends up running into this girl named Miri, and Miri was going to the same location looking for her father. She claims that her mother sent her all the way here, like she traveled by bus and train and ran down a bunch of streets just to get to this one place to find where her papa was. And yes, as you can all probably already guess by me explaining this, the target for Kazuki and Rei to kill ends up being the dad that she's looking for. So now she's completely an orphan. And so feeling a little bad about this because they end up opening this letter that she had with her, and it literally had the picture of the guy they just killed. Feeling bad about this, and, oops, they start taking care of her. They end up trying to find her mother, but she ends up being a deadbeat that didn't want her, would rather drown her than actually deal with her, that kind of mother. So they're sort of just kind of, all right, if her father's dead and her mother's a deadbeat that wants her dead, might as well take care of her. So it's the whole shenanigans, them trying to take down targets and make money while at the same time dealing with this young little girl that just is curious about everything. Let me do this. I want to get involved with this. Like the funniest, one of the early funny moments that you have is where they're going into this one like mansion to take out this guy, and he literally tells her, stay in the truck. And he goes in there as like this repairman, goes to the door, gets welcomed in. But before he left, she literally says, I gotta pee. And he's like, you gotta wait because I literally gotta do this now. Just wait, I'll come back. And sure enough, as he's in there working on something as this undercover mechanic or whatever, she literally goes to the front door and rings the bell and says, I gotta go pee. And the guy, this mob guy just like welcomes her in to take her into the bathroom. And as she's walking back out of the bathroom, literally he sees her and says, Papa! And he's like, no, man, you blew my cover. And then guns start flying. So it's that kind of chemistry. Just they do a job and she comes in and messes everything up because she's a goofball. So yeah. Did you get a chance to watch this one?
Nope.
Big shock. I am actually really enjoying this one, and it's kind of one of those ones where I kind of assumed I was going to enjoy it because, again, it's playing off the Anya thing. Let's be perfectly honest. It's adorable little girl that's literally the same age as Anya. The only difference is that this girl doesn't read minds. So she's an absolute bundle of fun, and it definitely plays into that whole element of this is one of those things that makes you so badly want to have a little bundle of fun like this, but at the same time reminds you that the bundle of fun is going to drive you mad at the same time. Like she destroys everything and gets into everything, and she's constantly running around and goofing around and giggling like a goofball. She is totally fun. I will admit there's times where it almost feels like those scenes of her kind of running around and driving them crazy sometimes drags out a little bit too long. They're trying to hit that point on it too much, but for the most part, it's just kind of the shenanigans back and forth. And they've already kind of spent a good amount of time kind of hitting on each of the characters. Again, hitting on Miri's mother, hitting on Rei and his lack thereof his relationship with his parents, getting a little bit into Kazuki and his what seems like it's going to be a very screwed up past with him and his wife. I haven't got to that point quite yet. I'm kind of assuming it's going to probably be here soon. It seems like it's kind of been hitting on it and hitting on it. But so far, it's just been like a mixture of like these really gut punching moments about the characters and what they kind of deal with their relationship with their family. And then these fun, goofy moments with Meaty being a goofball or them trying to do a mission and it completely failing in their faces. So I am actually really enjoying it. I don't think it's like incredible. Like it's not really blowing me away, but at the same time, it's just got enough that has been entertaining as it goes along, and it looks really good. Despite some CGI vehicles, it seems like PA Works at least is getting a little bit better. They're getting a little bit better, so it's not as cringy, but yeah, it's a solid watch. I definitely recommend it if you're looking for something to tie. If you're feeling like you've missing Spy Family, this might hold you over for a little bit longer until the next season comes. So
it kind of feels like what I was expecting. Yakuza's daughter, babysitter.
Yeah,
I was expecting that to be.
Yeah, and I think with Yakuza's Guide to Babysitting, that one went like 98% just cute and Yaika is adorable and him taking care of Yaika and going to her school and stuff, and not so much that heavy drama stuff. I mean, it got heavy, especially with her Yaika's mom.
Well, when we were first talking about it, that's kind of what we were expecting was this kind of shielding her from the dark side of the Yakuza, where this one is kind of more doing that. That one just went full sugar, pretty much. Yeah, it hit the drama points, but that's not what it was really more about.
Yeah, like whenever it does get into like the serious moments, like, you know, she shows up after using the restroom and then calls him out and then everybody pulls guns. It's like, it literally turns into almost comical in the idea that he's running past all this gunfire and literally the entire mob boss's group turns into stormtroopers and there's all these bullets flying everywhere in their direction and none of them hit. And he's just running with Meaty in his hand, screaming. She's giggling because she's having a blast. And it's like, okay, this is just going on just full on goofball moment here.
Because we all know stormtroopers are the only ones who shoot precisely.
Right. But I mean, it's kind of like one of those things where it does still insinuate dark. I mean, they literally killed her father, but it's never like, it doesn't dwell in it, I guess. It's just like, oh, oops, like an oops moment. And it kind of moves on. So it's kind of one of those kind of, it acknowledges that something bad happened, but it's not going to, they're hitmen. It's not like they're going to sit there and dwell on it. So I'll be curious if they do get heavy at some point.
Did they hide it from her or like?
Yeah, because she never met her father. Her mother just said her father was there.
That's
so
true.
when they went to go take out this guy, he was basically a guy that was doing human trafficking, and so that's why they were sent there to kill him. And he was having this big party with his wife and everything, his new wife, not Meaty's mother. And the letter basically said that, you know, you used me and disposed of me and then left. I'll take the girl. If you don't, and if you don't give me some money in return for taking care of her this whole time, I'm going to expose that you basically slept with me to your wife. So when they get there, their target is this guy. And as they confront him, Meaty goes up and says, "Are you my papa?" And the guy just picks her up and points a gun at her as a hostage. And so what Kazuki basically does, the main character does, is he goes, okay, I got an idea. He runs up there and says, "Meaty, I'm actually your papa. Jump towards me." And so she literally just kicks off of this guy's chest and, you know, flings her arms out while Rei shoots and kills the father. So it's like, this guy's a dirtbag. Like, I mean, if he did find out that Meaty was his daughter, he'd probably just throw her to, you know, human trafficking in a heartbeat. But through that situation, Meaty believes now that Kazuki and Rei are her papas. Like, both of them are papa. She's just convinced that they're papa. Now, the question mark is going to come is, will they ever care to get into it? Or are they ever going to get into the moment where it is revealed to her that they killed her father? At her current age, she's not going to understand a damn thing they tell him.
That was
so the question mark is, because it's PA Works, what does PA Works like to do, Chris? Time jumps.
Yeah,
they love time jumps.
They do that. I was getting ready to say screw everything up at the at some point.
Not always. Not always. Just one show. Anyways, but they like doing time jumps. So it's like, but they usually like doing time jumps at
The 12.
core jumps.
Yeah.
Or mid cores. So I don't know if they might eventually say, hey, Buddy Daddy season 2, and maybe do a time jump then. Or if they'll just kind of go, no, we're only doing core and maybe jump forward at some point later on in the show. Or again, if they're just not going to care to get into it, like just be the Buddy Daddies and let's not worry about trying to explain this to her. I don't know that she would care in the end because she's going to be growing up with these two guys unless she separates and then comes back later and she's now an assassin and she wants to take down her dad's killers.
I think it would play for a very fantastic something that a drama point that could be really well done. I mean, it's not. I mean, if she would end up in weighing out the idea of her quote unquote dad, who she never really knew but was a really bad person, but weighing that against these two guys who technically they did something wrong, although it's in the eyes of the world, it's kind of this Avenger type thing, or what it was,
Punisher.
Yeah, Punisher, the
Batman.
That kind of ideal is in a different realm of this kind of moral gray area, and it would be an interesting thing to actually play out as something to actually think about. So yeah.
We'll see though. That's Buddy Daddies. Check that out. That's interesting to you. Did you check out Ningen Fushin Adventures Who Don't Believe in Humanity Will Save the World?
I got a few episodes into it.
Or Disillusionist Heroes Adventures Will Save the World. I think that's a better title. This one's streaming on Crunchyroll. Don't know how many episodes going for, but it's being done by Geek Toys. The source is a light novel. This one takes place in a fantasy setting that includes Japanese pop idols, like modern day pop idols for some reason. Dungeons with
left
weird
field. I'm sorry.
Dungeons that have like drop ceilings from business buildings for some reason, and lighting and fluorescent lights. I don't know what's going on with the setting. I think it's supposed to be a medieval time fantasy world, but who knows? Anyways, it kind of opens up with this guy named Nick, and he gets betrayed by his girlfriend. He's been trying to save up to buy her this necklace, and then she's like, I don't want to be your boyfriend or your girlfriend no more. Let's break up. And then you have this other girl, Tiana. She was apparently going to this one school as a magician, and she accomplishes all this great stuff. Like, she mastered 2 magic elements and stuff. But then when she goes back to her fiance, he's like, oh, I've been hearing that you've been bullying this other girl, and you've been probably sleeping with the teachers in order to get good grades, and you're terrible, and breaks up with her. And then you have this Zim guy who he's a chaplain or priest or whatever, working this one area, and as he's working that area, this little girl who used to gather herbs for him and stuff like that eventually falls in love with him, and she tries to say that she loves him, and he's like, look, I'm sorry, I'm a priest. I've dedicated my life to not getting in a relationship. Like, I'm never going to be able to get in relationships. And yes, technically also the fact that she's really young. And so he kind of declines her, and then she gets really mad and runs off and tells a bunch of people that he forced himself upon her and has been paying her for her body. And they all believe him, so they throw him right in jail. And then there's Kuran, who they get into later on. She apparently had this one group leader that was super nice to her and helped her, like, figure out this guy was trying to scam her.
The Dragonkins are fated to serve someone that they believe is going to be the hero, which is, I think, an interesting little tidbit to have on that as well.
Yeah. And they go out on like a whole quest together, and she's like madly in love with this guy. And towards the end of the dungeon, like, they have her hold the attention of the snake thing, and then it poisons her and paralyzes her, and he ends up they steal all the loot, and then they go back to her place and steal this core, this dragon core that was given to her. That's like their source, like their precious thing. And so she starts going and eating a bunch of bars and following this guy that eats a bunch of food and then eventually runs out of money. That's all of them, right? Yeah. And so these are all people that have had like terrible experiences with the world, or they're party members. And so they all go to this one bar one night, and they end up kind of getting seated together because they're running out of tables. And they all at the same time basically realize that they're all in a terrible mood, and they all kind of tell each other their stories, and then they all decide to form this party together, like this disillusioned party of adventurers that will save the world, as the narrator says at the very end. They're going to save the world, apparently. And so what kind of follows this is these just different things that they kind of do. They kind of go through this whole process of trying to figure out how they're going to essentially manage their money, because they want to make sure that multiple people are involved in the money process. That way no one person individually is in charge of the money, and then they can steal it. They go out on ventures together into different dungeons, and then they have little falling outs about how their formation is and following orders and dealing with one person's positioning and not hitting them with spells, trusting each other's back, kind of stuff like that. And they run into an OP sword hilt, and that turns into a cute, pretty boy that
Shota
helps them. And then Nick runs into his old girlfriend and messes with her. And then, anyways, your thoughts?
I didn't see the girlfriend, so
I don't care. They finally at some point realize, yeah, Nick, you're right. She's an idiot. I just kind of discard her and want him to join because he's so cool. But yeah,
it's this show. I kind of, by all accounts, I should love this show. I should love this. I should.
I should love this.
I should. The problem with this show, because it has all the makings of it's a band of outcasts, and this is a huge group of underdogs, and I want to like it so bad. I love Tiana's story. I love Karan's story. I felt for them. Nick is weird.
Did you like the backstories?
I kind of did.
Oh,
it's one of those that I got what they were going for.
Like every one of them has a cackling bad guy that's super evil. Yeah.
Nick was the only one that I was like,
Yeah.
Okay.
They were all terrible, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, yeah, I do get what you were saying about the kind of it's there to be there type thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, okay,
let's
but
just get moving.
when it comes to it, okay, fine. I'm fine with it. It doesn't really bother me. Even Tiana was the only one that was like, really? Okay, we'll go with it. But no, Nick was just stupid. I nothing on board with the Nick thing. Well, okay. Everybody just dumping Nick, and then Nick going full on idol Stan was just kind of like, yeah, whatever. So yeah. Anyway, my point is, I should like this. There's a whole bunch of things in here that should work. The comedy's not hitting. The personality, the chemistry is not working for me. Nothing is working in the show, and it's really, really frustrating me. So yeah, when it comes down to it, I guess it's okay. It doesn't bother me. I'll probably keep going back to it and trying to watch it, but when it comes down to it, it's not doing everything for me right now.
Yeah, I think that's my problem with it. Is like it almost feels as if like coming into it's like this show feels like it should be for me. Like it was. I think it was one of those ones where I seen it and I wasn't really interested, and we saw the PV and I was like, actually, this could really work. Like everything seems to be clicking for me, and I like the style of it. And then I go to watch it. For one, it's visually just kind of falls apart. It's not terrible, but it kind of starts falling apart later on.
Well, the biggest example of this is there's this coin thing that somebody was trying to scam Karan with, and another guy comes and says, "Here, scratch this," and she goes and scratches it, and you could see what they were going for was
what that was
with it. Yeah, they were trying to make this scratch piece of metal thing that was spinny off to the side,
yeah, peeling off,
and it looks all kind of jaggedy and weird, and it's like, I know what you're doing there. It doesn't work.
I thought. It makes me laugh because I literally went back and paused it because I was trying to figure out what was going on, and I'm like, you did the same thing. Like, what is this supposed to be portraying? Like, that's a weird scratch mark. oh, that's appealing. What? But no, it's like everything here. It should work. Like, this sounds really interesting, and it's like the outcasts. It's the band of outcasts, and I was like, okay, that'd be cool to kind of get into. My hope was that their issues that made them disillusioned would be like partly their own faults, and they would have to work around that. And they sort of do technically get into that. Like, Tiana, especially early on, kind of acknowledged that it could be her that's at fault. And so I was kind of hoping for that, and it's they sort of get into that because they bash heads with each other really quickly. Like, Karan and Tiana, they bump heads real quick. But it's like, I guess the problem that I'm having is that, like, putting aside the fact that I think all the backstories are just terribly terribly rote. Just the interactions with the characters, even going forward, it's like, it just feels like this writer is so stuck on, I guess, nastiness. Like, this writer just loves characters to all be nasty to each other, and it's like, at some point, it's like, I just don't care anymore, really. The only character I care about is Karan anymore. Like, it's just, as long as I only root for Karan. Like, I just don't really care about any of these other characters. Like,
I like Tiana.
I struggle with Tiana as well. I mean,
she's cute,
but like, I don't really get it. And then that's not even to get into I don't know what they're doing with the world.
Stupid sword. I don't even want to know about the sword. The sword is stupid.
I want to figure out what the hell's going on. Is this an isekai world? Is that why they're idols? Like, they literally have this whole segment.
I don't want to think about the stupid idols. Don't even try. We drop. Let's pretend that the idols don't exist. And I already said that I didn't like Nick. I mean, we could just drop Nick altogether and drop the stupid sword. We'll just make it a story about how Zim ends up with Karan and Tiana, and we'll be happy ever after.
And the guy that's the foodie that Karan likes, I don't know, but no, like, he goes to this place.
He's all right.
He gets broken up with his girlfriend, and he immediately just appears in front of this idol stage with lights and everything and glowy sticks, and he's got merch and everything like a modern day idol fan. And it's like, wait, what world are we in? And like I said, the whole dungeon thing with like the drop ceilings and fluorescent lights and just weird hallways that look like modern business buildings and stuff. It's just like, I don't know, it almost implies like the labyrinths that they're going into are almost like portals into other worlds. And maybe that's where that adopted into it. I don't even know if they're ever going to get into it, or if it's even a thing, or just they want to have an excuse to have him be an idol fan. Because one of the concepts to their group, this disillusioned group of adventurers, their whole thing is like, everything has to be done in process that everybody's involved with, so that not a single person will scam the group, because they're coming into it expecting that they want to make sure that nobody thinks that each other are scamming each other, because they don't trust each other. Because they got ruined before. And I do like that aspect of it as well. And that sort of plays into one of the rules they have is that whenever you're not in a party and you're doing the adventure, you don't question what each other do. Because that's like something they want to establish really quickly. Like, Nick wants to be able to spend his money on his idols. Kuran wants to spend money on her food. Zim wants to spend his money on women. And Tiana wants to spend her money on books or whatever. I think it was books. Was it books?
I haven't gotten to that yet.
It was like in her room. She like had something that she liked. I think it was books. I don't remember what it was. But anyways, they all have their thing and don't question it. So, but it just doesn't work. Like, I don't know why. It just, the whole overall presentation and writing just doesn't work.
The chemistry is horrid. Like, yeah. I mean, when they were doing it,
is nasty.
When we were talking, when we mentioned it a couple times, the bickering between Karan and Tiana, it was absolutely.
I'll never trust you with my back again.
It was horrible. I mean, it didn't play well. I mean, Tiana's tsundere to Karan's kind of Boku-ish type pushy nature, it just did not feel natural. And that's the frustrating thing. Even when Kizuna, their sword character, when they were trying to merge or whatever the heck it was that they were doing, it didn't feel natural. I don't understand. Why does by all accounts, your bond should be really strong, but your bond is not bonding, and because they didn't trust each other and all that stuff. It goes out of its way to make a bond out of a mistrust type thing, but the mistrust is causing the the trust to not work. And so
How do you fix their trust?
How do you fix
their
the
trust? Is
dude?
give them an OP sword that forces them to have to trust each other. That's how you develop characters.
It's just it. I agree. This, by all accounts, I should like the show, and it's not working.
Yeah, unfortunate. That's a Ningen Fushin. Hopefully it gets better. Let's talk about a show we want to talk about. My Life As Inukai-san Dog. Don't tell me you've read the manga, so you already.
I read the manga.
You read the manga.
I have them all. I have all the episodes. I'm trying to watch them. I just have not. I want to watch them.
Streaming on High Dive with little stickers. Running for 12 episodes. Being done by Studio Quad, based off of web manga, comedy, ecchi, romance, supernatural. This one opens up with a guy. He wakes up and he's in the middle of a street and he's cold and he can't move. And then this girl from his school, Inukai, shows up and goes, "Oh, I'll help you," and just picks him up. And he's like, how is Inukai carrying me? And then she carries him off to her home, where she takes him into the bath, and he discovers. First, he asks, "Why the heck is she taking me in the bath with her?" And then she takes him in the bath, and then he realizes when he looks in the mirror that he's a puppy. He's a little puppy dog. And thus begins his life living as Inukai-san's dog. And Inukai is special when she's alone. Like at school, she's like the cool, calm, cold type girl, doesn't really talk to anybody, and she's super gorgeous, and he really liked her. But then at home, she's like this goofball. Like behind the door, nobody, even her mom, she doesn't like her mom seeing it. Behind the door, she's able to become like this absolute dork. Like the first episode when they're in the bath together, she's sit there like woofing and licking his nose and being a doofball. And then later on, she decides to put on a dog outfit and bark at him, and then try to get this little like dog bark translator thing to work, and it translates things terribly. And then her mom walks in. And her mom's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, "Oh, I'm doing push-ups with cat ears or dog ears." And she's like, throws on the ground. And then she's like, "And a tail." And then she pulls the tail out of... Seems to imply that it was a insert tail, but didn't see anything. But anyways, it pull the tails off. And then eventually we meet Nekotani, who is Inukai's friend, question mark? I don't know. It just doesn't seem like Inukai likes her. Nekotani's afraid. I don't know. At first it implies that Nekotani's afraid of dogs, but then like I kind of feel like she's just afraid of Inukai believing that she's stealing her dog, because she's deathly afraid of Inukai, and Inukai is extremely jealous of anybody getting near her dog now. But yes, Nekotani's afraid of dogs, and she lives right next door to this guy, so he's like wants to really badly to go to her house and then jump out her window to go to her house, which he ends up doing. And that's when we meet Tsukishiro, who it implies she really, really likes his old human self. Like, she was madly in love with him. And I think they're implying that they believe that he's dead. And she's like been taking care of his room, and she takes care of his desk. She really takes care of his desk. And yeah. She really takes care of his desk. Like this whole sequence where she's walking around and he's hiding under her skirt, but not like hiding under her skirt like towards the back or anything. He's literally between her feet. And like, who walks with that much of a gap in their feet that he can walk in between the 2 feet?
Obviously, she does. Stop questioning it, Andrew.
She right in the
Okay.
Anyways,
I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
Do you love Nekotani yet?
Oh yeah, of course.
See,
Inukai is psycho. Nekotani is cute, and Tsukishiro is crazy. That's so far. Inukai is a psychopath. Nekotani is cute, and Tsukishiro is... I guess she's okay. I mean, she kind of feels a little bit psycho. I mean, she's not done anything wrong besides Code Geass at the table. But, yeah, Nekotani's great.
Yeah, Nekotani was, when all was said and done, I really did like Nekotani. She's a nut. But yeah, this show is... the story
this manga
is great. I love it. So yeah, I really do want to get caught up on this show. 15 minutes each episode shouldn't be too bad. But yeah, it's just the more weeks go by, the more and more that pile is getting bigger. But yeah, love it.
I think like early on, I admit that early on it's like this is kind of just it's just eye candy. Like it's just you're just here to see ecchi. It's just a dog perspective, girl taking off clothes and showering or bathing and that's pretty much it. And then yeah, it kind of goes to the whole thing of throwing on the dog outfit and everything. But the thing that like threw me through a loop and where it was like it went from being like just straight up just goofy ecchi and like, oh, he falls on her and gets stuck in her bra and then oops, it breaks the bra off and she's going, oh well. They get the weirdest things happen between this dog and these girls. But no, where it got really crazy was when Nekotani showed up, and you have this whole sequence where he's trying to get her to be his friend so that she'll ask to take him to her house, and that is to get close and she starts freaking out, and then he notices like a caterpillar on her, and then she falls and I guess knocks herself out by hitting her head on the ground or something. And as she's knocked out, he's trying to get the caterpillar off her, and he starts getting underneath her and everything. And then literally Inukai walks in. And then things just got weird. Because again, Inukai gets super jealous. He hasn't even done that with me yet. I'm going, what is this girl going to do? She lifts up her one-piece dress and goes, come here, Pochita. He wanted him to go up inside of her dress. And she starts chasing him around with her skirt held up. And it's like, this girl's crazy. And then she finally sits down on the ground and just says, come home, Pochita. And he's like, I gotta do it. He just goes home. And it's like, oh gosh, this girl's psycho. And so yeah, whenever anybody does something first to her, she just gets like dead eyes, like yandere mode. And it's just like, this girl's crazy. Like this is where the humor is going to be at, is how psycho she is. Like when the kids knock the ball.
Seen nothing yet.
Yeah, the last scene we left on was literally he ends up walking with Usagi back home, and she of course walks the rain, and the dreaded rain. This is the second time we're talking about in this one podcast. The dreaded Japanese rain. Usagi literally falls down when she gets to her house, and so Pochita literally has to go over there and disclothe her as she's laying on the ground. And he's somehow able to yank this little itty bitty dog is somehow pulling all these clothes off of her perfectly. And then he goes into her room and is able to grab clothes to come. Well, he throws a bunch of clothes on top of her. I'm like, okay, that's I can follow this. But no, then he goes back and gets some underwear and somehow manages to pull it all the way up her legs and everything perfectly. And I'm like, okay, sure. And then yes, for some reason, because it's Japan, Inukai shows up and just flings open the door and finds her unconscious on the floor, and Pochita's sitting there. So I'm assuming Inukai's gonna go nuts again. So it's like people just fling open doors. Like, I'm just gonna go up inside this person's house. Anyways, that's it's weird. It's good ecchi though. It's good ecchi. It's good dumb. Why is this happening on the screen right now? Ecchi. But yeah, my life as Inukai-san's dog. Handyman Saitou in Another World. I'm actually really liking this show. So, this one is streamed on Crunchyroll, running for 12 episodes, being done by C2C, source of 4 common manga. But yeah, this one follows Saitou, as you would believe. He is a handyman from our modern times Japan. Doesn't seem like he enjoyed his life in Japan very much. Just nobody appreciated the work he did. Not like he was asking for appreciation. It's just that everybody just kind of treated him terribly. You like unlock a door and the lady's like, what, you charge how much? That didn't take you but 5 minutes. And it's like, well, I have to drive here and I know I gotta use all these tools and my training and everything. But anyways, he ends up getting isekai'd into this fantasy world where he ends up kind of joining a group as a thief, because in this world, the only thing I can think of is like, well, I can pick locks, so I guess I could be a thief for a party. So he joins this group as the thief. He does other things like repairs their armors. He's like an all-around jack of all trades, but his initial job is just to open boxes and doors. But yeah, now in this new life with this party with Railza, who is a swordsman, Lafinpan, who is a was it the moon fairy, and Morlock, the wizard. he's really appreciated for what he's able to do. Like, everybody thanks him and thinks he's incredible for picking locks and repairing their armor and making bags and stuff like that. Anything they really need, he's able to help them with. So he kind of enjoys his new life, even though it's dangerous. At least now he's kind of appreciated. So yeah, and his party's weird. Like, Relza is kind of very shy. She seems to be very self-conscious of the scar on her face. She obviously likes Saitou, and but she's super strong, very reliable. Laufenpan, like I said, the little fairy, she's now Toyama voice, so she's absolutely adorable. That's just all you need to know. No, her quirk is that she charges for her heals, which they get into why that's actually a thing. And then Morlock is like this very old wizard that's extremely powerful and like high rank, but he's old and senile, so he forgets things really easily. Like every night, like they have these whole stories where Morlock is like, we'll just run up to Relza and Laufenpan randomly and goes, "Hey, can I join your party?" And they're like, "You're already a part of our party." Or he just forgets his spells all the time. And at some point, even Saitou decides to learn all of his spells so that he can tell Morlock which lines in his spells so that he can finish his spells. So yeah, he's a dork. Yeah, at some point he just joins an army of zombies because he just forgot what he's doing. Yeah, that's and over time you learn other groups. Like there's this Franlil and Ninia, which is an elf
that was
monk
so messed up,
and a human healer. And Franlil is like just likes to fight and appreciates Ninia healing her. But then from Ninia's perspective, Ninia wants her to get hurt because she wants her to basically own her. Like she wants to own her because you'll not be able to live without me because I will heal your wounds. And then like she claims that she has to apply saliva on wounds in order to heal them. All the while this orc from a distance is huffing and puffing. There's Gibble and Lilza, which they do this whole joke where you have this really cute little petite girl and you have this big muscle guy, and then they're talking, and then eventually they get up to get their weapons, and obviously the little cute pigtail girl picks up the gigantic axe while Gibble picks up the staff. He's actually the caster, and she's a melee. There's the overly defensive mage dwarf that has all his armor, and then he's able to just kind of keep from attacks and then blows up everything. The guy that has the gigantic club that can't even enter a dungeon. Just a whole bunch of different characters they kind of introduced over time, and it seemed like for the first like 3 or so episodes, it was all like skits, just jumped all over the place. Very short skits, humor about introducing the characters. And at some point, they find a new labyrinth, and it all kind of comes together for like one focused story. So, I'm not gonna get into that yet. Your thoughts so far?
Is everybody gonna come together?
They did.
Cool.
Yeah.
Because I like that. I like a lot of these characters. They each have their own little quirk, and all these quirks are just absolutely a kick. And I am enjoying it. I find myself laughing here and there, usually in just the kind of most random things. I mean, obviously,
the size of Laufenpan.
All right.
The size of Laufenpan.
I got more of a kick out of Marlock is freaking hilarious. I think for whatever daggum reason, Marlock works pretty good. Laufenpan I thought was kind of just sad. I did like Laufenpan, but I thought her story was kind of sad. I know that it's supposed to be funny. But
no, I was talking about them talking about the measurements.
I know what the measurement.
No, her story's not funny.
I got the measurement thing.
Her story's not funny at all. I don't know how it would be funny.
But I laughed so hard with the monk and the priest. I thought that was freaking hilarious. But that's about as far as I got. I do intend on going back. It definitely has caught my attention, for sure.
Yeah, I think this is one of those. I don't want to pass judgment yet, but this is kind of one of those shows where it's almost an aspect of be careful what you wish for, because I know like I was with a lot of people early on where it's like it felt too jarring. Like it felt like it jumped around too much. It felt very skip based, and it felt like at some point I wanted it to be more focused, like just stick on a story or something like that. And it finally does, and it's almost like one of those
never mind. I don't want this. Like, it's not that it's not that because it's now no longer skip based and it's focused that it's bad. Because again, once they get this labyrinth open, everybody comes there, and then suddenly you have them all in one little closed space, and so it doesn't jump around as much. And so it's focused on a single story with a lot of the characters involved. The problem isn't so much that they're there and it's more focused and less skip based. The problem is that it became suddenly extremely serious. And I don't know yet if I like this writer when they get serious. Like, there's nothing in the story so far. Now, the stuff with Morlock and Saitou, that stuff I'm interested in. I'm very curious about some key stuff around, especially what they introduced with Morlock's history. That's it. Morlock's history seems to be like the catalyst for a lot of stuff in the storyline that they're going to get getting into. At least it seems like they're putting a lot of focus on Morlock. He's been around for a long time. Dude's really smart. But I don't know that I like the fact that the last 2 episodes have been like so heavy. Like, at some point they had, because another group that's in this whole thing is the hero party. Like, for some reason they feel like they have to have a heroes party. So they have this whole meeting where they go, we just need to pick somebody. We don't need a hero, but just pick somebody. So they're like, it almost felt like they're randomly choosing. And they even have this whole selection process where you have to pull the sword from the stone, and they literally have somebody underground holding the sword. And then they go, okay, the one that we chose is here, so go ahead and let it go. And they literally let the sword go. And he pulls the sword. And yeah, then it was like the wizard or the healer or whatever with the group was like some boy, one of the guy's nephew or something like that. So like, go ahead and choose him. And oh, here's this cute girl. Let's go ahead and have her be the wizard with the party. And there's like this whole scandal thing where like the priest boy was being bullied by them, so he decided to open up a live stream so that everybody could see them basically drugging him and making out on the side. It's just dumb. Anyways, back to what I was talking about with these 2 episodes. Like, it starts to get really serious, and suddenly, randomly out of nowhere, they show the wizard girl from the party, the heroes party, and she's literally holding up this shield, and she's hiding behind a rock, and it points out the fact that she literally only has enough power to shield herself. Whereas, like, you have Laufenpan over here shielding 2 people. You have Reza over here shielding a couple people. Like, everybody's doing their part except for her. She's off the side, and it just kind of points out the fact that she's so weak. And it paused on it for a minute comically, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. This is supposed to be a comedy. And then it goes back to the serious stuff. And it's like, I kind of miss the comedy. So, I don't know. I'm not going to pass judgment yet, but I will say that it hasn't been that enjoyable in the last 2 episodes. I am interested in Morlock. But at the same time, it's like, it feels like I really miss that comedy. Like, it was so hilarious. Like, the first few episodes or 4 episodes? I think 4 episodes, and 5 and 6, I think, were the serious episodes. It was just knocking it out of the park. Like, it was literally one of my favorite shows of the season. Like, it was 3rd favorite show of the season. And then suddenly now it's like ticking down. Like, suddenly 80,000 goals popping above it. And then there's another show that's popping above it. And it's slowly drifting down. I still enjoy it, but they're better at comedy. Like, this writer's so much better at comedy. So hopefully it corrects course here soon, or at least gets to a cool punchline, because this whole guy that's obsessed with this witch and wants to kill everybody to get this time magic or whatever he's getting, I don't care. Like, that's the problem. Like, the main villain, the story is not really that good. Morlock's story is good, but the main villain they introduced really quickly is like, I don't care about this dude and the witch. I really don't. So we'll see. That's Handyman Saitou. We'll get back to Ayakashi Triangle because that's delayed. Reincarnated is the strongest exorcist in another world. Did you watch this one?
No.
I am so mixed on this. When the reincarnation of the strongest exorcist in another world, this one is free on Crunchyroll for 13 episodes. Studio Blanc, I think. Light novel is a source. Okay, so this one opens up with, as you would guess it, an exorcist. And he's this really powerful exorcist. And at some point, he's so powerful, it seems like he's garnered so much attention because of it. Eventually, the humankind themselves betrayed him. Like, they used his own pupils to catch him off guard and deal a fatal blow. In his last moments, he decides to use this reincarnation spell, and it reincarnates him into what seems like a different world, because this new world that he's in, when he's born there, he's eventually brought to this noble family and left the doorstep and brought in by this noble family for some reason, and raised in this family that is very magic focused. Like, this family raises like the best of the best mages, and he doesn't know magic. because he's from a world where he was an exorcist, he used spirit abilities and stuff like that, whereas now he's in a world of magic. And they very quickly use this kind of test to find out what his aptitude to magic is. It's 0. But even him, he's like, that doesn't matter. He still knows his abilities. So he kind of just raises as kind of an outcast. He's still in this family and they're taking care of him, but the focus is on one of his brother who really hates his guts, bullies him all the time. He's going to go off to the academy and stuff, while his other brother is going to become basically the head of the family or something like that. But yes, jump forward, and eventually he sort of kind of tricks the family into believing that he saved the family from this big newt creature, because he summons one of his spirits from his previous world, which is like this big Cyclops guy, and says, okay, go find like a massive creature like a newt or something like that and lure it to the estate. And so later on, when this newt randomly appears and starts attacking everything, of course, the brother that was bullying him just runs off like a coward, and he goes out there and one-shots the newt. And that basically makes their father recognize that, okay, never mind. Our family only sends one son to this academy. I'm going to send Saika instead. And his little brother's like, wait, you said our tradition is only to send one to the Magic Academy. He's like, yeah, you're going to go to the military. Like, you're a coward. You're not going to go to the academy. So what kind of precedes this is that you have Saika, which again doesn't know magic. He goes to this academy for magic, where he sort of uses his exorcist abilities to sort of make it seem like he's using magic. So when he goes, like, they have this whole test exam thing where they have all these different plates, and this one's resistant to fire, so this is where you show how your fire abilities. This one's resistant to earth. This one's resistant to air. And so he goes to each one of them, and he uses his exorcist spirit abilities to essentially make it look like he's casting magic on this thing. So he'll release a paper, and then he'll use the paper to cast a spirit ability to cast fire or produce earth or whatever on each one of these things. So that's sort of the interesting quirk to the story, is that he's not a mage, but he's making people believe that he's a mage, but him with his exorcist abilities is much more powerful than mages of this world. He brings one of the family estate's slaves with him to be his kind of partner as he goes to the academy too. But what the story comes down to is, now that he's at this academy, what it quickly establishes that there is a hero of this world, and it's Amu, this girl that is a commoner that ends up getting admitted to the school. And so what Saika believes is that since he became super popular in his previous life, and that got him killed, he instead wants to support somebody who will be what he was in the previous world. So he's going to focus on essentially supporting Amu, who is the hero of this world, and protect her and support her and kind of lift her up and let her have the attention while at the same time protecting her. So very quickly, these demons of the world send their forces to take her out very quickly when she's young, and he essentially wipes them all out by himself while she's fighting like some minions over here. And so that's sort of the interesting quirk of the story. And like I said, it's very interesting because while it is yet another reincarnate into a similar fantasy world where abilities are different, but you're super overpowered and you don't want the attention. So it's hitting all these tropes, but it's kind of doing it interestingly. I'm actually, this might be one of the very few cases of a reincarnate from fantasy to fantasy where I might actually like it, ? Like, it's not doing anything terrible. It's fine. I like the characters so far, but I think the more interesting element is Saika and his abilities. Like, at least for these type of shows, don't really get that many. You don't really get exorcists with like paper abilities and summoning spirits and replacement techniques with paper enchantments and stuff like that, which seeing him in combat is very interesting. Like, again, they'll stab him and he replaces himself with a paper, or they do like lethal damage to him, so he sacrifices a paper in order to restore himself. It's that kind of stuff. It's very overpowered, but it's very interesting. I guess it just plays out very interesting. Like, it's clever how it just kind of pursues itself. So it's not terrible. It's not doing anything incredible. So it's kind of that middle area. Like, I'm surprised by it. Like, it's enough to make me enjoy it, but I'm not going to expect anything out of it in the end. So we'll see how it turns out from here. But yeah, Reincarnation of the Strongest Exorcist in Another World. Did you watch Ice Blade?
Nope.
I don't even want to talk about it. I refuse to talk about this show. It's garbage. I'm not going to talk about Ice Guy. Did you talk about? Do you watch Ice Guy?
No.
Ice Guy is pretty good. Ice Guy and his cool female colleague essentially follows Himuro, who is the descendant of the Ice Queen, and his cool female colleague, Fuyutsuki. And it seems like in this world, it's normal that there's like different people of like weird folklore and stuff. Like Komori in their workplace is like a descendant of a fox spirit. Their boss, I think, is like a Buddha or something like that, or descendant of Buddha. But it's just kind of a cute little adult comedy workforce type of thing, and it's actually working out pretty well so far. I had the fear of it being Komi-san can't communicate, or not Komi-san can't communicate. Why am I blanking on her? The cool girlfriend. She's super cool.
Oh, Shikimori.
Shikimori, yes. I thought it was going to be a Shikimori thing. It is technically a Shikimori thing. Like, literally every 2 seconds, Himuro says how cool Fuyutsuki is and freaks out. And then ice storms happened. So far within, like, the first 4 episodes or so, it's fine. It's very cute. Fuyutsuki is super gorgeous. I love her to death. And the studio has, like, a habit of, like, the eyes. And almost like, whenever somebody gets really close to somebody and they look at each other's eyes, your eyes going back and forth, you're looking at somebody else's eyes. It's like it's doing that with Fuyutsuki because her eyes keep doing this jir thing. It's very unique, but it's very cute. It's very wholesome. It's just kind of like very basic little interactions with the characters in their workspace. Again, it gets very kind of repetitive in the idea that Himuro has something that he's insecure about, so Fuyutsuki will go do something to give him a remedy to help him get over that thing that he's kind of unsettled about. So it's fine. It's not really doing anything incredible so far. I'm kind of interested to see when they bring in, I'm assuming, the sister, Yukimin. Maybe that'll kind of spice things up. But for now, it's just, it's fine. It's cute. I'm enjoying it. That's it for the new shows. Is that it for the new shows? I think that's it for the new shows. Are you enjoying Nagatoro? Are you still watching Nagatoro?
I tried to get a few episodes in.
You ready to hear my take?
You hate it? You still hate it?
No, I love first season. I'm getting Uzaki-chan vibes. It's not bad like Uzaki-chan season 2, but I am feeling a little fatigued.
I'm thinking you're past your teasing girl.
No, cause no.
Yes,
no.
Andrew doesn't like the teasing.
I like the thigh grab.
More.
I did like the thigh grab. The thigh grab was nice, but no, it's not as bad. It's not as bad as Uzaki-chan. Like I said, Uzaki-chan season 2 was like, oof, like what are we doing here now? Nagatoro season 2. It's not that I'm not enjoying it. It's just I'm not like, yeah, here it is, Nagatoro next episode. It's just kind of like, yeah, it's just more cute Nagatoro. I don't know.
I loved the drawing at the zoo. I pretty much everything I've watched of this. I'm not sure that I'm on board with the president yet. That's about the only thing. I get the president. I really do, but the president just doesn't work for me.
Did you like Sister Nagatoro?
Loved it. Loved it. Absolutely loved
Sister
it.
Nagatoro. What was it called? Nagatoro? Oni-toro or something like that?
Onetoro.
Onetoro? Yeah, something like Onetoro. It like immediately says that. I'm like, is that a little bit disrespectful? Just like randomly call somebody a nickname that you just met. No wonder she's gonna mess with you.
She's awesome. I absolutely.
Like I said, I'm not saying I'm not liking the season. It's just like it. I guess Uzaki-chan just got me afraid of it. I guess. Like I'm afraid. Like I'm having this fear.
Just admit you have.
I'm having this fear.
You have teasing girl fatigue. It's okay.
Well, we did just get done with like what the 5th season of Teasing Master Takagi-san. So no, I still enjoy it. It's just like I said, I just have a fear that I might not like this season. I'm gonna keep watching it, but it's super cute. Like I said, the thigh grab was great. Vinland Saga 2nd season. It's doing a lot of building right now. It's still gorgeous, and I can't wait to see what they do with Canute, but it's a lot of farming, and people were warning us about the farming. I think it's doing good on I'm doing fine. I'm fine with that establishing the setting. Like, it's really like a cooldown period of really trying to dig into Thorfinn and change his perspective on things from a bloody child soldier to finding purpose, and I think this is a good kind of reset for him.
Hey, Andrew, if you want a Minecraft harem show, I've got a good one for you.
We got 2 farming shows this season, but this one they literally have to do it. Like, we have several episodes of chopping down trees, literally having to drag them to the river, like by hand, and then have to hand chisel out the roots and then drag that out of the ground. And we're talking not shovels with metal here.
Hey,
we're talking wood shovels.
My show has an instant OP
we got
tool
no OP
and
swords
harem,
here.
Andrew.
No, yeah, it definitely has the harem. This one does not have the harem. I know Einar and Thorfinn might be a thing eventually. Who knows? But no, it's good to kind of establish that reset. But the only thing that's bugging me about the season so far is that it didn't do it in this last episode. But like for a few episodes, it felt like every scene was like 5 seconds too long. Like it held a shot 5 seconds too long, and I almost felt like they were like dragging it out on purpose. But I still love it. Just great, fantastic scenes so far in it. So, see, these are all continuing. I'm not talking about Tokyo Revengers. I hate Tokyo Revengers. Bofuri got delayed. Do you want to talk about your Bofuri? The library scene sucked. The CGI library fight was dumb, which is crazy because most of the season so far with season 2 looked great. Like Mecha Maple, even though it's basically using the same animation over and over again. Kasumi, crazy turning into Lolly, obviously. All that stuff was great. Like all the action scenes are pretty good, except for Mei and Yui. For some reason, they didn't want to put any effort into their action scenes. And then suddenly out of nowhere, like we have a whole CGI library fight scene. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. I don't know what it is because I remember this from season 1. Wasn't it in season 1? Whenever Sally was alone, it was always CGI. I seem to remember season 1 they did the same thing. Like they don't want to animate Sally, so they just do CGI with her for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe it's like a play off of the fact that she's always a gamer. I don't know. But it's okay this season so far. I mean, they're just kind of here's a new level, opened up, go to the next level,
Yeah,
go to
it
the next
seems like
level.
they're blasting through stuff real fast the last few episodes.
Suddenly I have a throne now. Yeah, I'm just gonna sit here while I buff you all. Okay. Hey guys,
how do we make Maple
Let me solo.
make Maple not as OP?
Dude,
make her sit down and give everybody else OP power.
The moment that she walked up to those statues and did a pose, because she was sick or something like that, and so they went ahead to the next level, and so she's like, that's okay, I'll just solo it and see if I can solo it, and I'll join you guys in the next level. So she goes to the boss, and then she's looking around for the boss room, and then she finds these statues, and she poses, and it teleports her. I'm like, she found a secret boss, watch. And sure enough, she found a secret boss and kills a secret boss, and she's like, oh wait, this isn't to go to the next floor? No, you just got this super overpowered ability now. Oh, cool, got another super overpowered ability. That's literally the whole show, is them getting super overpowered, just unique skills, and it breaking the game. And then the admins are complaining about it. Like, you guys wrote the code.
Dev Tama is always in there going, how do we make it more powerful?
Yeah, just put her to sleep unless she takes damage. Obviously.
That was great.
I was surprised that it didn't turn into a whole thing.
That was absolutely hilarious. I actually took a picture of that and sent it to Andrew. This is great.
Yeah, it's fine. I wasn't a big fan of the first season. I feel like I'm enjoying a little bit more this season, so maybe again, like, I kind of assumed with the first season I just wasn't in the mood for it. It's not great though. I'm not gonna tell anybody to go out of their way to watch it, but it's just a goofy, dumb, watch a bunch of cute girls being overpowered. It's literally what it is.
It really is. And I mean, I have this kind of, other than the fact that it's cute girls being overpowered, I have this kind of soft spot for the tank just being overpowered. And so I'm absolutely having a blast with it.
How are you did you get a chance to watch Inspectre?
Nope. I watched maybe I watched 2 episodes. It was 1 episode or 2 episodes.
I have it sitting in my queue and I just have not just that. It's like it's like the last one. Like I still have Tsunade and I have Inspectre and then Misfit, and Misfit got delayed, so I'm like, thankfully I don't have to mess with Misfit. But Tsunade, and I might watch Tsunade and then I'll watch Inspectre. It'll be the last show that I watch.
I don't know if they fixed any of the problems because only watching 1 or 2 episodes, I don't remember if I watched the second episode. But I do
as long as the story arc doesn't take 5 episodes of dialogue, then we'll know. I mean, it wasn't so much
that was the thing, that they only fixed one thing, as far as I could tell. So probably not. But the first one, didn't they fix the first one in an episode too?
Well, no. Again, yes. Again, it's not so much it having multiple episodes for one issue they're facing. It's more the fact of like just having like this drawn out combat sequence where it feels like they're trying to do the same thing over and again. It was the whole thing with the pole swinging idol girl, and the fact that she was doing the stuff on the computer about the memes and combating the social media discussion about the ghost and taking its power away, basically. And then here's a sister over here basically writing in reverse to it. So it's not that it was multiple episodes for an arc, it's just that it feels like it just kind of just drags on too long. So I don't know. I'm gonna check it out. Like, I think the new character is who was it? Yeah, Aoyuki. So they have a new Aoyuki character in there, so that kind of makes me want to watch it even more so now. So this Yuki Onna. So hopefully she's a major part of the story.
We got another Ice Queen.
Ice Queen. But yeah, I'll check it out eventually. Just haven't got a chance to. And like I said, Misfit, I don't plan on watching that because it's been delayed too. Were you enjoying Misfit, or you check that one out?
Misfit
of Demon King Academy second season.
I only got a couple episodes of that in.
I wasn't hearing much positivity coming out of it. So is it like or just it's fine?
I wasn't real sure on it. It doesn't feel the same. Well, that's like Fruit of Evolution. It's like, what the hell, did y'all pass it to somebody else? I mean,
I heard people saying that Fruit of Evolution was getting like super like higher budget. Is that true?
I
like suddenly it just looks like it looks better.
I don't know that it looks better. I'm not liking.
It just looks different.
I don't like what they're doing.
Oh, the story?
Well, the story's fine. The comedy is like way off the kilter. Like they went like stone crazy. But I guess that I remember saying a lot that it's just goofy fun. That it's not the same kind of goofy fun now. But I mean, they're adding new characters, and so I'm guessing that they're shifting the comedy a bit. So we'll see. It's not the same. Is what I guess I'm saying. It doesn't feel the same.
Weird. Last one we have is By Grace Gods 2. I'm assuming you're watching that one because this is your bread and butter, as you said. Your bread and butter, and what was the other thing? Use your bread. We'll stick with bread and butter.
Yeah, I love it.
He opened another shop.
He opened up another shop.
He improved his security systems.
Yes, he did. He went through practice of how to handle if somebody tries to do something crazy. They all know how to throw spoiled fruits at them.
Just throw the fruits, but you have to make sure that you wait for the other guy to come out so that he can intercept. You can't immediately start throwing. You gotta wait until Dolke comes out, or whatever his name is. And then you could throw the tomato. Yeah. He like created like this whole like mock like shooting range just to practice putting up glass shields as protectors.
Instead of doing it in the building, they made a mock building outside so that
you don't want to make a mess. You don't want to make a mess. No, I got to kick out the fact that he literally gets to the point where he's like, all right, we're secure. It was nice that you actually had this moment where it felt like the people that were working for him established things for him. We have shown you that we can take care of things. Don't worry. Go expand. You have the ability. Do it. Go expand out. Create more shops, expand yourself out. And so he decides to travel to hell, who knows where, just to build another shop. And everything's kind of what do they say that Glyceria, the old lady, was like, sent him a letter. And so he handled everything on his end because he's terrified of this old lady. Like this old lady that he just talks to on a regular basis is like this super powerful person. That was kind of funny. But yeah, creates a new little shop and sets that up. So everybody came over and trained everybody. Just drop what they're doing and traveled all the way there so they can set things up for him.
I absolutely love a lot of the things that are going on in this show as far as the Ryoma just constantly we were talking about, Ryoma expanding his shop to another city, and just all the things that he's doing. He's constantly got things going on. The only thing that I don't much care for is how little he's actually doing himself.
Yeah, I was just gonna get into that. You apparently on the same boat I am. I was just about to get to my butt.
That's the only thing that I don't much care for.
It just feels like he's being told that this stuff's being set up.
This is what you got to do.
This is set up.
This is what you need to do. This is what you need to do.
And then, oh, by the way, there's race cars. This guy's got a son that like made this magic engine, and he makes derby cars, and he has full-size race cars. Okay. Are we doing that? Are we now throwing the hook in there that there might be another isekai out there?
That's where I'm thinking that they're going. Well, they kind of implied that with the gods. The gods talked about people, other transfers coming over.
Yeah, but I don't know if they ever insinuate that they have. Yeah, I guess they never denied the fact that they would have knowledge of their previous life too. I don't know.
And they said that they do have a tendency to, after a certain point, they tend to go sour. So
yeah. It's been a while. It's been a long while. Yeah, he met the new one, which was the god of crafting. Was it?
Yeah,
and
in this,
he liked the figures he made.
The most recent episode, he did end up meeting the other god that they were talking about. So
yeah,
I like I said, I do enjoy this show. I love Ryoma and his like I said, all the things that are happening. Him constantly better. It feels like he's constantly striving to be better in some way, shape, or form. Whether or not, like that one little tidbit of criticism that I would give it, like I said, is the fact that it feels like things are happening to him rather than him grasping them and doing them himself.
I'm pretty much the same boat. Like I said, it's kind of it's similar to things like farming life and stuff like that, where it just feels like a very relaxed, chill, enjoy this new life the person's having. That's the whole concept of it, is that he had a terrible previous life and that he's given this new opportunity to have a relaxing new life. And it's sort of, I think the reason why it relies so heavily on the idea that everybody doing a lot of stuff for him, although it's very complicated stuff, is that it sort of balances the aspect that, yes, he technically shouldn't be pulling too much onto his own shoulders, because the whole purpose of this life is for him to relax. So if he were to be actually self-handling a lot of this management and stuff and having all this on his plate, he is going to literally go back to where he was. So I'll be interested if that would actually turn into being a story beat where he realizes, I'm going back to my previous life. But we'll see. It's just kind of an okay show for the most part. But yeah, that's all the shows that we're going to talk about for this first impressions. I technically have like Trigun and Nier, but I've made videos on those, and I don't want to keep Chris any much longer. But you guys got a gist of pretty much all the shows. Also, Damachi, I've been covering that show on the YouTube channel as well. So if you guys have some time, go to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/otakuspirit, and you can check out those first impressions there. Technically, week by week impressions as well for things like Nier, which is continuing this week. Yay! But appreciate Chris coming on here and let me jab at him for most of the time, but then getting some good feedback this time, since we got some shows that he watched on like Onimai. Make sure to go into all the Discords. We have a Discord. There's a link in the description. Go to the Discord and say how much you don't like the fact that Chris has not watched Onimai yet. We must all band together to criticize Chris for not watching Onimai.
It is what it is.
He's trying. Anyways, as usual, we're at otakuspirit.com. That's where you can go for all of our links.
Considering the difference between last season and this season, how many shows that I watched, if that doesn't tell you everything, I don't know what does.
He's pushing it. He at least gets some time to sit here and let me blab to him. That's good. Again, we're talkingspirit.com, so where you can go over our links, social media links, Discord link, everything's there. Appreciate everybody for their support. Again, there's links for our ways to support us through Patreon, our tips link, and all that good stuff. We greatly appreciate everybody for their support. Thank you guys for dropping by. Hope you guys enjoyed, and you all take care.
Os.